Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 24 of FPL BlackBox. We are joined with a very special guest, someone who's actually managed to have a good week in what I think has to go down as one of the most disappointing weeks because of all the hype that went into this double game week. It is, of course, the triple captain of Bale himself. It's Luke. How are you, Luke?
I'm pretty happy, I'll be honest.
Bit disappointing tonight.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I didn't even think he'd play two games, so just him turning up was a treat, to be honest. But obviously, when you see he's in the lineup, then that fantasy manager takes over in you, and you think, "Come on, we can just get a little bit more." But in the end, can't be disappointed, can I? 63 points, I think it is, as triple captain, which is utterly mad. Him alone outscores a normal game week for me most of the time, so that's good.
Yeah.
It was too much to ask. No, it was too much to ask to get a return tonight as well, wasn't it? But I mean, we had Kane captain as, and that was unfortunate, wasn't it? I mean, 2 chances tonight, 2 or 3 chances the other day, just disappointing, wasn't it? I mean, you had Bamford had got 8 points from him.
The header he missed today.
I know. He didn't play well at all tonight, I didn't think. His first touch was down. And Bale didn't play well, really. I think Spurs as a unit disappointed. And did you see at the end when Kane broke away and I think Lamella and Son were running in forward and Kane just went and won the free kick, didn't bother playing for it. It's what we expected, wasn't it?
All over, isn't it?
Well, it's Spurs all over.
He's such a team player these days.
He is.
It's not fair.
But Luke, it is a delight to have you on. You are probably the most talked about FPL manager this week. Have your ears been burning from all the Twitter love you've been getting?
Yeah, to be honest, I expected it to be completely the opposite way of why the hell have you triple captain Gareth Bale? But yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, it's what you live for in fantasy, isn't it? I mean, the chips for me, the triple captain in particular, is kind of a little bit throwaway, which I think a lot of people are finding out this week, and in the past mine have been pretty poor. So I suppose I don't hold quite the same love for it. So I feel like using it on someone that not many people had, and that was always the plan. But obviously, when it comes through, I mean, I can't say there's anything else apart from, I mean, there's a little bit of judgment in there, which I can talk you through if you want, but. I mean, the outcome is obviously pretty damn lucky to hit that haul. But the thing that compounds it, I guess, is the fact that just no one else has returned at all so far. I mean, I know Salah's still in play, and Kane's obviously got 8, which is okay compared to most other people. And probably Digne's about the only other one I've seen that a few people put the armband on, sprinkling.
Did they put the armband on Dina?
A few triple captains of him, actually, which is pretty good.
Wow, okay.
But yeah, I suppose that's what it is. The dream is a differential that returns and then no one else returns, which is an extremely rare thing, I guess.
I think when we didn't see him in the Europa League lineup and then he came on and scored, and I saw you tweet going, now everyone wants him, don't they? And you must have felt good at that point because you knew then he was going to play, going to start. And he looked like he had some form as well, and he delivered.
Well, that's it. Before that European game, watching the West Ham game, and he came on. I mean, he looked really good in that game to me. He was taking a lot of shots. Short cameo, but it was more to do with the fact that I just felt like Spurs had been really bad, and he kind of changed the game for him a bit. And I felt like they just need something new, and it just felt like it was right. And then obviously when that, like you say, in Europe, when he didn't start, came on and returned, it seemed like the stars were aligning for him. Now, it could have been that case, and then Pope pulls out a worldy performance. But for me, I just feel like in football, quite often, these players or the way a team plays only lasts for so long, and then people sort of get on top of it. So with Spurs, for example, I mean, Kane and Son have been doing their thing all season. Sometimes it's near unstoppable, which it has been in the case of Kane and Son quite a lot. But after a while, eventually teams start to work it out. And I just felt like Bale gives them that extra thing that no one would be prepared for. And he's obviously left-footed, cutting in against Charlie Taylor. I mean, I got lucky that Burnley had a shocker. But it's similar to
instantly as well.
Instantly, yeah. It's like Grealish, for example. He's been doing very well and had a great season, but it only lasts for so long. And then I know he's been injured, but teams started to double up on him. And then Villa's attacking output started to dip. So there was a little bit of method. I did tweet before the game that I felt like the attention would be more on Son and Kane. And I just got lucky, basically.
I think we've seen both sides of Bale this double game week, haven't we? We've seen what he can do in that explosive 19 points. And then today, where he doesn't really affect the game too much, and Mourinho takes him off for 60 minutes, whether to rest him or, to bring on someone with some extra legs or whatever. So you've always got that risk that Mourinho's going to be like, no,
100%.
not happy with you. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bale getting subbed off after 20 minutes, like he has done in the past, and the commentators were talking about today.
I tweeted as much, saying I'll be lucky if he plays, above 100 minutes or whatever it is over the two. Definitely the case. But, and it's often the thing I do. I own Kane, I own Salah, I own Bruno Fernandes. So in my mind, I was like, if any of these guys go off as captain or triple captain, you're only using like 1 times or at the worst 2 times if they're triple captain their points. I've already got them in my team. They can't hurt me too much. And obviously at my rank, there's no point in playing safe at this rank, is there?
No, you got to go for it. You are a maverick manager, and given the situation and the potential Bale offered you, it's perfect. We're going to look at Bale in a bit more detail tonight, because I think as you're tempted, aren't you? It's no surprise you're tempted because you love the man. We're going to talk about Bale. We're going to talk about Bruno. Is it time to get off Bruno? And that could be the player that as he's looking to get rid of to get Bale in. I know a few people are looking at that. We'll look at some Harvey Barnes replacements, and we'll have a deep dive into the captaincy again. It's a double game week, of course. Double game weeks are 2 a penny, aren't they? But there's another one this week called for City, Southampton. So we're going to look at, in particular, Gundogan and De Bruyne. A lot of managers looking maybe to go bound to 1 in defence, 2 in midfield, get De Bruyne, maybe captain De Bruyne. I know Andy was talking about that. I had a bit of a set 2 on Twitter about it. You were just encouraging me on that one. That I don't need any encouragement. But let's look at our game weeks. Yeah, I know. We'll come to your team last, Luke, because it is a sight to behold with the score you got. We'll start off with Az. First of all, Az, you had a bit of a rough time at the weekend because of the Brighton situation. I do apologise for retweeting that rather scandalous movie that went round about you. Yeah, you weren't too happy about that. You feeling better about it now, or it went viral, literally, didn't it?
It did. I wasn't happy at the time. It was, I was already feeling a bit down after watching that Brighton game and everything that went on in that. And then obviously that video hit, and I had a few friends laughing at me, and I thought, and
just a few.
And it was annoying because I'd got a couple right. I predicted Arsenal v Leicester. I was really happy at getting that one right. I've actually quite a good week of predictions, but of course something like that goes out and it ruins it. But no, you've got to see the funny side, haven't you? You've got to laugh. It was it is pretty good. So yeah, no hard feelings. The video just sums it up. 2 missed penalties, a free kick with the worst refereeing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, like the magic second whistle can just dissolve all his like mess up of before. It doesn't quite work like that. So yeah, I think that was absolutely scandalous.
I think that's what made it funny, was because you were so sure about Brighton scoring, and then the incidents that happened in the game was, I mean, Brighton have had an incredible season when it comes to failing to score despite all their best efforts, but that was incredible what we saw in that game. Really,
look at and coming off the back of that Palace game. As well, that was the Palace game is the most ridiculous game of football I've ever seen in my life in terms of losing a game that you should win, and then it follows up immediately with that West Brom game. It's just it's hard times being a Brighton fan at the moment.
Well, when I saw the video, my first thought was, this will be good for the channel if this goes a bit viral. And I was watching the numbers go up. So I texted you going, sorry, Az, I hope you understand I'm doing it for the good of the channel. And then you came back going, no, you're not.
Rubbing your hands with glee when you saw that.
It was a beautifully put together video by one of your so-called friends. But yeah, anyway, we won't dwell on that any longer.
No, not anymore. Cheers, Jack.
We'll talk about your game week. If you haven't seen it, it's brilliant. Go and try and find it. Let's talk about your game week then. Look at your score. 92 at the moment, but obviously the game week is not closed yet. You've got Salah in this game, who is blanking at the moment, but could still return, I believe. So happy with that, are you? I mean, bench boost was all right, wasn't it? All right? No?
It's meh is how I describe it. It's all right. I mean, bench boost, I've got 15 points. I've always said 20 points is kind of half decent, but really when you look at it, Target 7, Pope 4, Bamford 2, Dallas 2, it's not amazing. I took a -8 like basically to bring in Kane, and I was doing that because I wanted him over Son. I thought he would. I mean, it was only I could have gone for Son for free or a -4 for Kane. The -8 was kind of separate for targeting for Soufal. So yeah, I chose to take the -4 to go Kane over Son, and that didn't pay off at all. And actually, I was lucky he didn't get punished more, because if Ali could shoot properly, then he would have an assist as well. I mean, Calvert-Lewin not getting anything. Lookman didn't get anything. I don't know. It was okay. It was okay.
It's been the chip.
50,000.
It's been the chips all over. Apart from the esteemed gentleman with us tonight, not many FPL managers have done well with their chips. I certainly haven't, and so far you haven't. It's just seems like we build them up and they just never seem to deliver on our hopes, do they? It's just been one of those seasons for the chips so far, and I'm done now. I'm all out of my chips. So. Just got the second wild card.
Got the wild card.
Yeah, I don't really count that. I guess it is a chip. I never really have counted the wild card as a chip. Okay, so you've gone up in rank. I mean, I think you'll go up a bit more. It's another green arrow, and you're in a decent position to attack
onwards and upwards.
Top 100k. Myself, okay, again another green arrow. 95 for the game week. I mean, my transfers were Dina in and Kane, and I can't complain about that. I guess just the 8 points from Kane, which is the same that a lot of people got from Bamford a few weeks back. It could have been better, but as we speak now, Salah's not returning anymore. None of the big captain candidates have returned so far. So I guess I got away with it and did okay from it. Dina was a good signing. He's going to get 2 bonus and would have got me 14 from the game week. So the move from Tarkovsky to Dina definitely worked. Apart from that, I John's still on the bench. I did think about playing Johnson over Pope, but you just think when you've got Pope, because of his ability to get bonus in a clean sheet. And I thought that Leicester game, they might nick a 1-0 or a 0-0, but didn't happen. So I regret not playing Johnson, but apart from that, it's okay. I can't complain. It's another green arrow, and I'm edged into the top 10k.
I know, you're flying.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. And just quickly checking on the great, the good. I'm closing the gap still on Fabio and on General. And apparently, as you're now only, 2 points off escaping relegation. So if you catch Joe, you're out of the relegation zone and you're 2 points behind him. So
I'd love to relegate Joe.
Oh, you say
not going to lie.
It'll be Joe, Tom, and Late Riser. It'll be in the relegation places. All lovely fellas. But yeah, I guess I've got to get behind you over here because you're my co-host. But it would be a shame to see them relegate. I think
begrudgingly.
I know. I think General is catchable now at the top. We'll see. But I don't know. I reckon I'm happy with where I am, and hopefully as you can climb out the relegation places. But all of that pales into insignificance next to Luke's 125 points. Could have been even bigger, though, couldn't it? I mean...
Oh, definitely, yeah.
What were you thinking when you had the 3 figures going into this second round of matches?
Well, as usual, you let yourself get carried away. I felt like I could hit 200. Genuinely, because everything was just... I mean, my luck is so bad in this game quite often that I always thought that one day it's going to come round the other way, and when it happens, I'm going to hit 200 points in a game week. And I thought this was it, but lo and behold, the second part of this game week, I mean, not just in fantasy, just watching the football's been painful.
Oh, it's been awful, isn't it? Really awful.
It's been devastatingly bad. Yeah, it's like a slow death. I think Joe put something on Twitter about 1,000 knives or something, and I mean, that's just how it is at the moment. We would have thought in my younger days I'd love this, the fact that I could watch football all day, every day, but now it's becoming a bit of a chore, to be honest with you, in places. But in terms of fantasy, I mean, obviously hit the 100 and then pretty much 2-pointers all round for all my guys. I mean, I had Areola in goal. I was thinking, if Spurs fail to score, then maybe he might be able to get me some save points or a clean sheet there. Obviously, that's not particularly materialised. I actually sold Diaz. So at the beginning of the game week, I took him out for a hit in order to get Bale. I already had 11 double game weekers. Wow. I just really wanted Bale. So I took him out for a hit, and lo and behold, he goes and scores. So I was like, oh my God, this is not going well. It's not a good start to the game week. But I got Maitland-Niles in, who did okay for me. He sort of covered that ish. Cancelo with his 2-pointer, very disappointing. I always expected he'd probably play 1, but City have picked up this annoying habit of late of just conceding this, from one chance essentially, which is always bound to happen. I guess that their clean sheets would dry up, just through the odd shot. That was always the way in the past for City as well, wasn't it? That they'd often look good on the stats defensively and then concede to a counter attack. It's a little bit different now, but I'm sure that'll pick up again. And just the usual names really. A pretty template in midfield. Gundogan, Fernandes, Salah, Calvert-Lewin, Watkins got me an assist, and Kane there with his 8 points. Actually, not many points on the bench for probably the first time in about 6 or 7 weeks. It's been pretty horrific, but that comes with having so much money, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, actually, for a Maverick manager, that is pretty template. I've been distracted by the dizzy lights of Bale, but when you look around it, it's only really Maitland-Niles who's a bit bit out of the ordinary there. I mean, do you feel uncomfortable with that? Because you're not a template manager at all. I'm surprised you're not losing sleep over this.
Well, people say that all the time, but I don't really claim that myself. I mean, I am definitely a bit maverick with the captains, as you can see, and that's kind of my strategy. But with the players, I generally don't punt too much. I mean, I did have triple Man City defence, and I only got Gundogan this week. So I had been on that, so I suppose that's a little bit different to most people. Not having him has obviously been a bad move overall. But apart from that, I don't generally stray too far. I usually just don't jump on bandwagons straight away, and I don't really.
You take a lot of hits.
I take a lot of hits.
I mean, there's taking a lot of hits me, and there's taking a Luke level of hits.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe once said they're Moorish. You are absolutely addicted. I mean, you've been knocking double figures out, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, again, for me, I suppose it's because. And I'm not belittling anyone who does it. I know a lot of people play for top 10k consistently, and it's really good to do that, especially in your guys' role and what you do, and it looks good on the record. And I'm not taking away from that at all. But for me, I started playing this game in 2007, I think it was, and I didn't even understand it. I had no friends in any mini leagues or anything. Just did it on a whim. Left my team. I'm pretty sure it was just a dead team. Ended up like 230,000, which sounds pretty good now, but I think back in the day it was a lot easier to come high off of a dead team. Didn't understand price changes, and then didn't play for like 2 or 3 years. So that's still on my record. So I've still always got that in the background. And then the first couple of years when I first joined, again, a lot of people say they weren't really into it. So because I didn't have that sort of starting off on a good foot, I've always thought, well,
does that kind of free you up a bit then? Do you think?
100%. So for me, I guess it's a mindset of when you play other fantasy games, because obviously the reason I started playing FPL properly and actually getting into it and enjoying it is when Mark recruited me, so to speak.
It's all my fault.
Sky.
Yeah,
exactly. So from that moment, I suppose it's a mindset. When you play the other games like Sky and Sun and stuff like that, they don't have these Hall of Fames and these leaderboards. So it's very much you go for that season, you go for the prizes or to win your mini league or whatever you're trying to aim for, and then you go again, and you don't think about the rest of it. And that's kind of my mindset with FPL, is like I'm literally going to try and win this thing. Now, will it ever happen? Almost certainly not with 8 million people playing it. But I'm not bothered if I finish 200,000 or I finish 10k. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm literally going for it. So I will often play sensible and then take a punt with the captains. And hopefully one season I'll get more lucky than most where I'll hit them. There's been
it was
Cool.
So I was going to say, it was an interesting discussion we had on Twitter the other day, because we were talking about the I can't remember who it was. Was it? It wasn't Boast. Was it Matt Kearney? Maybe. No, I can't remember who it was.
No, I can't remember who it was either. But we were talking.
Yeah, we were talking to them about the person who wins FPL and how they play in their strategy. And he's right.
Green Windmill.
Green Windmill. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and they do tend to play quite safe. So you're getting all the right players at the right times. It forms a template. Blah blah blah. And okay, that is a very viable way of playing, but you've got to hit every single thing right if you play that way. And your argument, and what I was kind of backing you up, was if you play in this other way, which is captain a bit more left field players, you need to get less decisions right to hit the same heights as someone who's playing a bit safer. And I completely get that, and I think that is really sensible to me. If you're going for that number one spot, is to take that punt on the captain, rather than taking a punt on Pogba over Fernandes or that kind of like crazy thing. The captain, I think, is the way to kind of differentiate yourself from people. So
yeah, you've been saying that. Bang on with that. You've been saying that for a few weeks, haven't you? And it is very, because obviously the captain is just, you're not stuck with them, are you? You can change it the following week. Whereas when you transfer in a player, you're committing to that player probably for 2 or 3 weeks. So it makes perfect sense.
It's about sort of funneling your luck, I guess. At the end of the day, you're narrowing it down to one decision. And I always maintain that as long as you own the most obvious captain for that week, they can't hurt you too much. You're getting 50% of their points anyway. So for me, I'm kind of funneling the luck that will my captain, my differential captain, outscore the main one. Now, most of the time they won't, and that's why overall playing the safe way is going to do you good. But if you can pick 5 or 6 times maybe across the season, and it works. And there's been a number of opportunities this season since about Gameweek 19. I think the highest effective ownership captain has failed so many times. There's only been a few. I mean, Bamford was a recent one that did well. Gundogan when he got 20-something points. Apart from that, there's been lots and lots of fails. So I just feel like if you can do that, and then in one season you might hit them over the course of 10 seasons, for example, it's probably going to not do that great, but there might be one in there that you will do really well on, and you'll hit 5 or 6 of them, and that will be the season where you get a really high finish. So that's kind of my strategy to hopefully hit one of these. I think Late Riser employs something quite similar. I mean, last season he was captaining Martial, for example, when most people weren't, and obviously they were hitting for him. It's a less good strategy overall for consistency, but when you're not playing that way, it's a way of funneling luck essentially, and that's what I like to do.
I'll tell you, one thing you've said there that interested me is I wonder what it would be like. I wonder if we would play the game differently if we didn't have the history of our FPL careers visible and there wasn't a Hall of Fame. Because you're absolutely right. I hadn't thought about that because going back to my early years of playing fantasy, you didn't have that. You played for one season, you did what you did, and then it was forgotten and you moved on and started again. But definitely a thing in FPL, isn't it, for a lot of people on Twitter, is about, well, have you got a top 10k finish? Have you got a top 100k finish? So it really does matter. And I wonder whether that does affect the way we play because, I mean, I've said, I'm in the top 10k now. Am I going to play more conservatively now? Maybe. I don't want to, but maybe I'm thinking, well, actually, I'll make do with this. I'll protect it. I don't want to make a few rash decisions and end up losing 20, 30,000 in rank. So it does affect. I mean, what do you think about that? As if there wasn't your history of your career, would you approach the game differently every season?
Definitely, I think. I mean, it was only really when I started doing the Scoutcast that I actually cared about what my kind of history page looks like, because I kind of felt a little bit more kind of under the spotlight and stuff. And I think and that was kind of around the time when I started taking it more seriously. But when I was like back at uni and I was just playing with some friends and stuff, like, I remember the year that I took I went for Robinho over Berbatov, and Berbatov went on some absolutely mad run. I think he got 5 against Blackburn, didn't he, or something? I didn't have
goals,
him.
Yeah, I think it was.
Was it 4 goals? Yeah,
I think it
was. And my rank plummeted, and I remember like not feeling too bad about that at the time, just being a bit like, oh well. Whereas now I'd be crying myself to sleep like for about a week after it. So yeah, I think it definitely does play in my mind. I mean, it was interesting because a few seasons ago, I know like General and Jay Egerstov both struggled, and they both finished around the sort of 300, 400,000 mark. And I think Jay I think it affected Jay a little bit more than it affected General, because Jay kind of went off the scene a little bit, whereas General really kind of came back. And Late Riser this year is obviously struggling, so hopefully he's got time to turn it around. But if he doesn't, it'd be interesting to see what kind of happens with him next year. But at the end of the day, does anyone really care? Like it feels like to me, okay, your rank history is there and people can see it and people say, oh, he's really good, but it almost resets every season anyway. Like we're going to be talking next year and it's not going to be like, oh, do you remember when ours was 300,000 like last year? It's going to be, where is ours now? He's 10k. I will listen to him.
Oh no, if you're 10k next year, I'll be talking about how you were 300,000 this year. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you will, but you will now. I don't know. Yeah. I think you can worry too much about what people are thinking, when in reality it doesn't actually matter that much. So.
Yeah. Well, we all want one of those mugs from FPL merch. That's what it is. We all want one of those.
That's what it's all about these days. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a tool to measure how good a manager is, though, isn't it? And I think it's the right one to measure how well you do over multiple seasons. So I agree with that, but it's just what you want to be rated as, just a good manager, or do you want to win it? Because I'm pretty sure if you interviewed all the winners out there that have then finished 5 million every other season, they wouldn't trade it for 9-10 top Ks. They'd keep the winner, and that's kind of, I suppose, again, it's the mindset from coming from other fantasy games.
It's why Simon March is the person to listen to, really, because not only does he consistently finish well, but he's also won it. Like that is
yeah.
And my point is he's more of the anomaly, because I think him and maybe Tom Fenley as well, I think who won it was pretty good as well. I think he maybe doesn't play as much anymore, but apart from that, I can't think of too many other winners that have been sort of consistently good.
So what does that tell you? That tells you that none of us so-called content producers or so-called experts are ever going to win it, because you almost need that kind of that season which is a complete outlier, which obviously we're consistent to an extent, but we actually perhaps we make decisions that mean we're never going to win it. Don't know. Who knows? But
I mean, Andy's right up there, and is within a shot of winning it if he nails some stuff around the 300, 400 mark. But he's done it by not doing things like captaining Bale. He's done it through getting a lot of good decisions. But you look around everywhere else, there's very, very few people, like good FPL managers, in the position that he's in. And that's because I completely agree with Luke. I think consistency is one way to play it, but you're unlikely to get up to those heights playing like that. But you do need that element of trying stuff. But then again, Mark, I mean, you play consistently well and you finished really high for a lot of seasons,
but I've
so
never had
it
a
can
chance
happen.
of winning it. I've always got my high finishes at the end. I've never once in my entire FPL career been where Andy is now with 10, 12 game weeks to go with a chance of winning it. Never. I've always had that last minute sprint and ended up with a good rank. The time I finished 42nd and 115th, it was right at the end. So it's a sprint finish. One season, I just want to start really well, be in the top 100k after a couple of game weeks, and then see what I could do. I'd be fascinated to see what I could do if I ever have that kind of start. But I've never had it.
I was going to say, I feel like the having an important, like a really good start is so key. I mean, it may not prove that way, you know, if you were to say have a computer take over from game week 5 and play it, they could obviously win it. But having that great start is just so good because of all the transfers everyone else has to make to get the players that you've already got. You know, the price changes, everything funnels itself towards that kind of style where, yeah, if you have a great start, you maintain it with solid play, and then you do, I think, throw in a couple of not necessarily wild captains. I mean, that would be wild, but you own the player and you put it on someone different. And I think Magnus Carlsen plays this style quite a lot. If you look at him, he'll often have, for example, everyone will be on Salah captain. You look at his team, he's got Salah and he's gone Sterling, and then a lot of the time it seems to come through for him. And I guess it's calculated risk. So I guess when I look at Magnus Carlsen, I think, well, he's an intelligent bloke. He must know what he's doing about. So I tried to base it off him. Not quite the same success level as Magnus, I'll be honest, but. But yeah, that's the way I like to play the game anyway, and hopefully one day it will change.
Cams is right in the chat because I'm being a bit harsh to Andy. Andy played that early wild card, didn't he? So when everyone else was free hitting and bench boosting around that time, he played the wild card instead, and that's an example of that kind of calculated risk. He saw a way to do something a bit different to other people and a way to get in. Yeah, I mean, when I had my good season, I was 1,000 at Christmas, 1k at Christmas, and that's the highest I've. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 1k at Christmas, and that's when you taught me into Jesse Lingard because you were like, oh, you could win this as you. Need to go
I just do not remember that at all. Stay tuned for more of the same. Let's move on because I want to talk about Gareth Bale a bit more because just looking at some player stats here, I just don't want to dwell on these too long. But Bale has cropped up now in this table. Never anywhere near this before. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty over the season, 174.2. He is now ahead of Son and Kane for the season. And if you look at the last 4 game weeks, that's why, you know, he's in there for the last 4 game weeks as well, 141.5. And I had a look at where 141.5 minutes per expected goal involvement over the last 4 game weeks. I had a look at Spurs over the season, and this is before the Fulham game. All the stats tonight are before today's games, by the way. And over the season now, minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, he's beating Kane and Son, 174.2. So right now, if you're looking at that as a key indicator, he is the best Spurs asset to own. Because now we presume he's going to get regular starts. First of all, do we think that? I guess we'll ask Luke about this first of all. Regular starts now?
I think so, because if you look at the alternatives that they've got in his position, they're just not very good. And I just feel like how can... Bale's taken a long time.
I got slated for saying Moura isn't very good.
Yeah, I thought Moura had a good couple of games. Anyway, sorry, Luke.
Yeah, I take that back. They're not good in terms of their output at the important end of the pitch, is what I mean. They're decent squad players. They play around, but it's what I've talked about before. Everyone knows how Spurs are going to attack. You know, stopping it is one thing, but everyone knows Kane's going to drop deep. Son's their main threat, you know, from open play, and you don't particularly need to worry about the other players on the pitch. So I feel like even if Bale himself doesn't do much, he at least takes some players away, and they need to think about him, they need to worry about him, and it's worked the last few times. So Jose came out and said that when he has performances like that, we have to play him. And for me, it's more been his fitness issues, you know, since he's come, and that's always the thing with Bale, is how much is his heart in it. That could change at any moment. I suppose he's very injury prone as well. That can change, but whilst he's in the team, I mean, at that price, we know what he's capable of. He was a world-class player. He's probably not too far away still if his heart's in it. So I think why not? At the end of the day, at the moment, what's the risk level? No one else is doing anything anyway. Literally everyone is terrible at the moment. Yeah. So what do you need to worry about? Said.
Yeah, and one player who is terrible at the moment is this man, Bruno Fernandes. And I kind of wanted to look at some data behind it, expecting to find that, no, there isn't anything in this. You know, it's all in our imagination. But looking at this table, what I've done here, just look at some key performance indicators from game weeks 1 to 22 compared to the last 4 game weeks. And he's down in every department. Minutes per touch down from 45 or up from 23.6 minutes to 45 minutes. Minutes per shot up from 24.9 to 40.9. Minutes per shot in the box, minutes per chance created, minutes per XGI non-penalty, and minutes per points, all up. So basically he's performing he's dipped for all those key performance indicators over the last 4 game weeks compared to the rest of the season. And I thought to myself, well, maybe it's the opponents. Look at the opponents he's had over the last 4. West Brom, Newcastle, Chelsea and Palace. Arguably there, 3 of the worst sides in the division. So you're a United fan, Luke, in name anyway. What do you make of it? I mean, Bruno, I think that Az is going to be wanting to get rid of him for Bale. Would that be the right move?
I mean...
Talk me into it, Luke. Come on. Yeah, you want to.
It could be. Things change so fast in football, don't they? As Bale shows, and I'm always hesitant when this sort of thing happens because, Bruno Fernandes has just been ridiculous for so long, and 4 bad games, and they have been bad for United as a whole. I just feel like at any moment it can change around. It's not like anything's particularly changed with him. He's still in that same role. He's still got penalties and set pieces. He still seems to have God's gift of picking up points even when he is terrible or the game's terrible. But when you look at how much he returns normally, and then you pick out this small subset of data, you think, well, yeah, that's pretty bad. But I'm still confident that'll eventually turn around. again, who else are you going to go for apart from maybe Bale? I can't really see who else you'd even look at the moment in midfield. So,
well, the question for me would be Son versus Bale.
Okay.
Do I actually think Bale is a significantly better pick, ignoring ownership and everything, than Son? That's the tricky.
I wouldn't say he's a significantly better pick because he's not going to get as many minutes. Son's probably going to be more consistent, isn't it? At the end of the day, Bale is very much the differential for me if you're chasing, and Son is the obvious pick. I just feel like he's shown it time and time again. I would go Son personally, but yeah. Bale is the differential if you're chasing, and I wouldn't be in a rush to get rid of Bruno anyway because I just feel like surely it's got to change around. He's Bruno Fernandes, for God's sake. The trouble is with Bruno is the next 3 games. That to me, because Mark and I, for example, in the wild card probably gave me 30, 31. Have you got your wild card, Luke? You have, right? I've still got mine, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to think around 30, 31 could be wildcarding anyway. Bruno's got City. He's not getting. He might get an assist or a goal, maybe. He's not going to get a massive return in that. Then he's got West Ham. I fancy West Ham to win that at the moment, given how United are playing. They were absolutely dreadful against Palace. They look like a bunch of Sunday League footballers. None of them could take a touch.
But to be fair, Luke has said everyone's looked like that in this round of matches, haven't they? Everyone's kind of looked, well, we're knackered. We're just going to see out the 90 minutes.
True.
And then if one team tries, they're almost going, "Oh, what are you doing? You're cheating. What are you doing?"
I thought United were particularly bad though. Like last night.
We were shocking. We were, but we can't be that bad against City. Not that it might help us because City are so good, but I feel like we'll raise our game for that game.
But look at your record against these top sides. Look at I predicted 0-0 against that Chelsea match. It was the easiest prediction I've made since we've started doing these. It was so obviously going to be that, and I think it's going to be something similar. It's going to be 0-0 or 1-0 City. I don't think it's going to be a massively high scoring game. I think both teams will probably. I reckon United will probably settle for a 1-0 loss at the moment and not get completely.
Well, Solskjaer's got a method of playing against the top 6. I think he's drawn 7 out of 9 matches against the top 6,
and it's
so far this season.
Ridiculously negative.
Yeah, it is. And so I expect if City win, it won't be by a big margin. I don't think United will score. And we're looking at the ticker now from game week 27 to the end of the season. Obviously, there's some matches to be dropped into this. There's still some fixtures to be arranged. But if you sort the ticker, this is from Fancy Football Scout, by difficulty, from now until the end of the season, United are second bottom to Fulham for difficulty of fixture. And so it's not just the next 3 or 4. They've got the blank in 29, of course. They've got City and West Ham, which are difficult games. But even after that, they've still got to play Spurs, Leeds away, Liverpool, Leicester, Villa away, Wolves away. These aren't gimmies, are they? They're difficult. And plus, obviously, Europa League's going to be buried in there as well. So I don't know. Bruno, he's such a FPL star, though, isn't he? I am hesitant to get rid. But are you literally hovering over the button, Az?
The biggest thing, because I don't care about effective ownership. We talked about ownership and all that. If I think Bale or Son or someone's going to outscore Bruno, then I'm not afraid to do that. I never have been. But the thing that puts me off is if I sell him and want him back on the wild card and the prices stay the same, that's a 0.5 difference. And I know you can't take money to the grave, or was someone saying on
at the end of the season,
Twitter.
Can't carry it over.
But if you're building a wildcard team, you obviously want to have money to build the strongest team possible. So if I've got to pay an extra 0.5 for Bruno, that's a lot. That's a lot of extra cash to give. So that is something that puts me off. I mean, the other option, and Daniel's just said it in the chat, it could be to go for someone like Aubameyang.
Just for a short term.
They've got Burnley next. Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking, this is the thing. Like, I'm just looking for the next 3 weeks. So it's got to be someone with a game in 29. So I'm looking at Bale, Son, and Aubameyang, and I actually think any of those three have quite a good chance of outscoring Bruno. But it would have to be by quite a significant margin for it to be worth that 0.5. I think.
But Aubameyang, sure. I don't Arsenal play Benfica next week in the second leg of the. Is he going to play against Burnley with that in mind? I don't know if that's.
I think he probably will. I think that was I don't think he rests him that often. I was going to say actually before we mentioned it, like as a one-off week, surely given Burnley's performance against Spurs, Aubameyang after a fresh off a rest is looking like one of the best single day punts that you could have out there. I just probably wouldn't want him for that run afterwards. Like I said, when we got Europe, they got Tottenham, West Ham and Liverpool. I know Liverpool were obviously not the best defensively these days, but even Spurs and West Ham, I feel like they're set up defensively. So it's really, for me, it would just be that Burnley game, and then you're just hoping that Dyche hasn't sorted him out and given him a kick up the arse, which obviously could be the possibility, because I don't think he likes losing by 4 or 5 goals very often.
This is it. I mean, Burnley, it's so unpredictable with Burnley. At home, it's a different kettle of fish, I think. I just don't trust Arsenal yet. I like what I see from Arsenal, but I don't know if I'd commit and get one of their players in. Maybe one of their budget players, maybe even like Saka or even Pepe. Maybe I know that sounds odd, but he's looked all right recently for one week punt. Aubameyang, don't know. I mean, if you're looking, I mean that comparison to Son and Bale, I'd go Son all day. And actually, I think that Bale has helped Son, because if you look at Mourinho's subs now, they are always either taking off the player who's in the 10, which was Ali tonight, was Moura before, then they're taking off Bale, and then they're taking off Ndombele for Sissoko. That's his free transfers. He does it all the time. So now, Son, who was going off on 75, 80 minutes, he's getting the full 90. True. So Bale playing has actually helped Son. And the thing is with Son, you want him for those last 10 minutes, because that's when legs are tired and he's on the break. So it hasn't worked yet, but I actually really pleased that Bale's in the team. I think it might hinder Son in some ways, but it does get him that 10, 15 minutes extra, I think, every game. Because Bale's always going off, I think, now, on 65, 75 minutes, I think. So I think Son is by far the better asset. I've
got one stat that might tempt you a bit more for Bale, because I think that is completely true. Just looking at the last 4, you might even have the stat a bit later on, Mark. The last 4 defensive numbers, second worst team for conceding chances down the left-hand side, Palace.
I haven't got that, but they've been bad down that side for ages, haven't they?
Well, I was going to say, the one thing that's making me think Bale's going to be a good option, they're playing Patrick Van Aanholt again at left back rather than Mitchell, and if that continues, I know they've defensively turned it around these last couple of games, kind of, but I suppose this is the thing of it. At the moment, we don't really know which team to target, because there's always been throughout this season a team that has been in a really bad sort of period in terms of their form, and they've been basically the whipping boys. Like, aside from Burnley getting spanked by Spurs, who would you even say is the whipping boys now? It's very tough to pick them out,
I think Palace, Southampton, and maybe Burnley on a bad day are the whipping boys, I would say.
Exactly. So at the moment, Palace, despite those results, I feel like Van Aanholt against Bale could be quite lucrative. I'm hoping so, because obviously he's in my team. And yeah, Southampton are conceding goals. Despite, for me, I think they've been playing a little bit better than it actually shows in the results. But it's hard to deny the fact that they just keep making these silly mistakes.
Worries me,
maybe at the moment.
What worries me, though, is that Kane looked tired tonight, and they've got Zagreb, haven't they? And so I looked ahead. When he said that about Kane maybe not playing every game, I looked and thought, well, it'll be the Palace game. That's the only one I can see coming up where he might go and rest him. And I can't even remember a time when Kane got rested. Just cannot remember a time, mate. It's just
doesn't even get rested in Europe. I don't think he will do that.
He was blowing a bit at the end tonight, and I don't know. Whenever when again looking at Mourinho's subs, if the fact that Son and Kane stayed on worries me a bit in that maybe one of those could get a rest. I mean, okay, like you say, Palace, I think they can beat them with Moore on the pitch, with Ali on the pitch. I don't know. I don't see Kane getting a rest, but it does concern me a little bit.
You see him tonight, though. I mean, they struggled so much against Fulham tonight. And, I would say if they'd battered Burnley and won tonight 3 or 4-0 again, then I'd probably agree with you. But I just don't think he can. Like, their squad is just not... It can't compete in the same way. I don't even know if that's too much about Spurs,
though. I feel like Fulham played well again, and defensively sound well. Yeah, I just feel like that's a tough game. I think many people would have struggled in that as well. You could look at it that way, I suppose. And maybe if it was a different team they're playing, they could.
Well. I don't think they played that well.
The stream there, that was my fault. I was trying to bring up the defensive data for Fulham to show how they're doing a lot better now, but I realised I haven't got that screen ready. But yeah, I mean, Fulham defensively have improved massively, and I think it was the stat that I saw, and I did prepare the table, but I can't show it. In terms of minutes per big chance, they're now, over the last 4, they've been the top defence out there. Extraordinary. So I don't think we can judge Spurs by their match against Fulham tonight, but we saw that side to them again where they were 1-0 up and they were just managing it out, and that's what I was worried about. I thought with the Burnley game, with Bale on the pitch, those days are over, but clearly
I guess
not.
The thing to take from this at the moment for me is when teams have games close together and they're playing largely the same team, they're not at it at the moment. And it's, I guess part of the trick might be moving forward is to try and identify teams that have got enough of a rest in between games where they can actually show something, because at the moment it's just everyone just seems extremely leggy. Even Man City, I mean, they've obviously churning out the results, playing fantastically well, but because they hold on to the ball for the whole time, it seems to be a little bit easier for them. And I don't think they've been quite in top gear. I mean, even that 4-1 the other day wasn't, full City as we've seen in the past. So I think all the teams are struggling in that regard.
Okay, so
Leeds. I mean, Leeds have had a good 45 minutes in 3 games.
Yeah.
I just think it's very difficult to judge anybody at the moment. I think every team is managing this period and getting through it at the moment, and they're resetting their priorities a bit. And the teams that are in Europe are obviously looking at that now and going, well, where's our priority? As teams like Southampton are going, well, we want the FA Cup. Maybe there's other teams like that as well. So I think it's a dangerous time to kind of make a call like whether we drop a player like Bruno. I mean, just quickly, it's a no for me. I'm not dropping him. I don't feel. How would you feel about him, Luke?
Given the fixtures and your certain strategy, I suppose it could be done looking at the fixtures. But for me, I won't be dropping him. I just don't know where else I would go. I've already got Bale, etc. So there's nowhere for me to go.
Mr. Phillips.
I think I will drop him this week, if I'm being honest.
Wow.
I think it's going to be one of Aubameyang, Son or Bale. Probably depends how many beers I have tomorrow night. I think Son's the kind of logical one, but then it is, I was kind of hoping for a big Spurs win today. I mean, not only because I had Kane captain, but also because I kind of wanted to see that really go for the jugular with. And I looked at the lineup and I thought, this is it. Ali's in the team. They've got the front 3. The only person I thought was missing was Reguilon, and obviously Luke, you said Oreo. I mean, Doherty was awful tonight. Like he was probably the worst player on the pitch. His crossing was terrible. He tried to beat players and couldn't. So I can't imagine he's going to start.
Fullbacks are so important to teams, and when I looked at that lineup, it looked good. But then the fullbacks, I just thought, you're going to need.
Absolutely.
But there was a point in the match where I thought, Fulham were going to have to come at Spurs, and then I thought this is made for Kane and Son, because basically Fulham are coming out and they're going to leave gaps and they're going to get caught in the counter. It just didn't happen. And that's credit to Fulham, I think. And Spurs look knackered. Harvey Barnes, let's talk about him because he's an injury. And you know what? I was really close to doing Barnes in. I could have gone Souček to Barnes or Tarkowski to Dina, and in the end I went with the latter. I'm really pleased about that. And,
50-50.
Barnes got the 1 point and Dina got 14, and that kind of decision, you kind of think that it wasn't 50-50. I was kind of always leaning towards Dina because I just looked ahead and I thought Everton might have that double game week in 28 to come as well. So that was always the most favoured move. But others did go Barnes. A lot of wildcard teams went Barnes, and they were really unlucky. I mean, General went Barnes. He just had the Grealish injury, then he's got the Barnes injury. Very unlucky. So people are getting rid now. Obviously, he's out for 6 to 8. He's probably out for the rest of the season, if truth be known. They reckon 6 to 8 weeks, don't they? But it's going to be the rest of the season, I would have thought.
That's awful news.
It is bad because he was going to be on the fringes of the England squad, wasn't he? Basically, and it was same for James Justin.
For Leicester as well.
Yeah.
I mean, are they going to get enough points now to stay in the top 4? It's going to be tough.
So I had a look here at sub 9 million midfielders last 4 game weeks, so we can just look at some of the contenders. A name at the top we're going to look at a bit more later on, Gundogan. Just some names for I mean, Rafinha's got to be in the conversation, hasn't he? Because he's a player that we've almost obsessed about the last few weeks. Love what he does, and I think that if you don't have him, even though Leeds have been up and down, he has just been head and shoulders above any of them.
10% ownership still low.
Yeah,
even before, what amazes me is even on that pitch where everyone is slipping around and falling on their arse, Rafinha is running around dancing, doing step overs and managing to not fall over.
Imagine him on a decent pitch.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know how he's doing it.
The thing is, for me, I think in recent weeks as well, he has just owned set pieces. Like I don't know who was taking them before. I don't know whether Harrison was taking a few. Rafinha just seems to be taking. Yeah, Phillips. That's right. Well, and Rafinha's now taken them right and left, all the free kicks around the box as well. And his delivery is pretty decent, and like another player who's just below him in this table, who's had 24 points and who scored tonight at Anfield, Mason Mount. It's all about his set piece delivery. He's come good as well, and 6.8 is obviously identical price, I believe, to Harvey Barnes. People might look at him. The thing is with Rafinha, he's got the Gameweek 29 fixture, and that's what you've got to look at when you're bringing in a replacement for Harvey Barnes, I guess. And for that reason, you've got Lookman in there as well, and maybe Pepe further down the table there. And Lingard, Jesse Lingard. You've mentioned him already as a player that I kind of pimped out to you a few seasons back. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pimp him out again. Jesse Lingard,
even
what about
the game in 28?
Well, he's got the game in 29, though. He's got Jesse Lingard for West Ham. He's got the game in 29, so he's got that fixture.
He doesn't in 28. So I guess if you bench him, you're
no,
right.
But he's got United, so he can't play in that game. But in a way, if you've got a decent squad, would you play him at United anyway? I guess West Ham. I'm not going to play Souček at United. Would I play Antonio there? Maybe. I guess it depends on what strength you've got on the bench. But out of those names, Luke, who would you fancy if you were moving Barnes out? Who would you go for?
To be honest, I feel the game week 29 blank seems to be causing us all sorts of issues, I think, at the moment. Because the only midfielders I can really think of are ones like Kevin De Bruyne, etc., that don't have a game there. That I think if that blank wasn't there, we'd probably be eyeing him up. And Neto, I still like as well, moving forward. I think he's down on the list there.
Yeah, 17 points last 4.
They're about to go on a good run, and just every time I watch him play, he looks about their only threat, to be honest. So remember, they've got players coming back from injury fairly shortly as well, I think. So hopefully they'll improve as a team. For me, Mount is the one that stands out, though. I know it kind of sounds boring, but
really?
I just feel like Chelsea's run. I mean, the other part of this is when you look
boring, Luke.
Really? I mean, I'm surprised by you. I mean, I haven't looked at Chelsea. Keep talking. Let's have a look at Chelsea's fixtures. Go on.
Well, I mean, just look at the league for a start at the moment, who is in the actual Premier League in points. Who actually even wants to get into the top 4? I then look at the fixtures and the way teams are equipped at the moment. I feel like Chelsea are going to be the ones that make the push, and then they're going to end up in the top 4. They've obviously got the new manager. They're solid defensively. And with those fixtures, I feel like they're just going to start grinding out 1 and 2-0 wins. And he's obviously got a squad where he can rotate people. And I like Mount. He's got set pieces. I mean, don't you like that run afterwards? West Brom, Crystal Palace, Brighton, West Ham, Fulham.
Yeah, I like that run.
Nice
I think the run from 30 to 34 that we're seeing here, like you say, West Brom, Palace, Brighton, West Ham,
and
away,
even the
Fulham.
Leeds game.
Yeah,
I think home to Everton as well is not a bad game at the moment. They're not exactly set. I mean, they can barely score a goal at the moment, so that looks like another 1-2-0 win to Chelsea to me in that game.
But equally,
where's Alonso gone?
Well, yeah, Alonso. When I play my wildcard, the week before my wildcard, Alonso is a player that I want to bring in for game week. For game week 28 against West Brom, because I just think that it could be a useful just 1 week punt. But I haven't considered Chelsea at all. Game week 30 against West Brom. Just hadn't considered Chelsea because Tuchel, it's all been about the defence, and the only player I guess who has come out and looked like he's offering points and consistent starts is Mount. So. Yeah,
Jota's another name I'll throw out there. I mean, he's not quite fit yet, but given Liverpool's run and
did you see the sub tonight?
No.
Was he off the bench?
Salah
tonight?
off at Salah off at 62 minutes for Jota.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, people, when you look at it at the moment, we're going, we haven't got De Bruyne because we've had Gundogan and 2 City defenders. Bruno, people are considering getting rid. Surely Salah, people are considering getting rid because he's just, when you look at the value being offered by the likes of Rafinha, and there are other players in this bracket as well who have performed recently. Mahrez is up there, and Barnes would have been in consideration had he not got the injury. But I think, like you mentioned, Neto, and you mentioned Jota. I think Lingard, going back to the fixtures here, look where West Ham are from now to the end of the season. Yes, they've got some tough fixtures, Leicester, Chelsea, Everton, but they're all at home. Every single one of their difficult games is at home, and their away games are all winnable. And Lingard, yes, he doesn't play in 28, but he's going to play every game from then on. And I've been impressed with him. I really have. I think he's been
incredible.
I think he's looked, his fitness.
He's got a point to prove.
Yeah, he has. And he could still get... Southgate loves Lingard from his own 21 days. So Lingard's already got his foot in the door. If he keeps performing as he is, he's got a chance, I think. And ironically, it'd be him or Mount, I think, for that spot. Probably. Now Barnes is injured, he's out of the equation. Let's look more at sub-9 million midfielders. This is the last 4 game weeks. Madison's out of the equation with the injury.
There's one name on that list, just quickly, Mark, that I can't believe that I'm about to mention.
Go on.
But it's Mahrez.
Yeah. You're going to go back there, are you?
There is absolutely no way that I am going to go back to Mahrez. So
36
take what
points.
I say with a pinch of salt.
36 points in the last 4 game weeks.
But in the complete opposite world to how I thought earlier in the season, he's first choice, he's going to be their main man, and all this kind of thing. I actually think now, the fact they pretty much already won the league and they're going to the Champions League, I don't think he is first choice at all. And I think that almost suits FPL because he's played 4 games in a row. Mahrez, 4 in a row, 90 minutes in a row. I think he's probably going to see maybe the most minutes while City are still in the Champions League.
Yeah, because he's going to play, obviously Sterling, Foden, maybe Silva. There's others ahead of him, isn't there? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, so I'm not getting him. I'm going to put it out there now. Absolutely not. I don't care if he scores back-to-back hat tricks. I'm not getting him in. But I think there's worse picks than him if you didn't hate him as much as I do at the moment. It'll pass. But I need some time. Yeah,
Luke, Az has got this unnatural hatred for some players, and he never really explains why. But Mahrez is definitely on the list, that's for sure. Jesse Lingard is another player that he's not disliked in the past.
He's not.
He's not blameless.
He ruined my season.
Yeah, that's true. He's not
ruined my
blameless.
season.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. Yeah, he did. But I think you did it to yourself, really, by putting faith in him. But he is tempting us. This is the last 4 game weeks by minutes per chance. And Neto is a name that we've got to look at for the season running because of the fixtures that Wolves have got. But other names on there that I've highlighted, obviously Pepe, Rafinha, Lookman, Gundogan, El Ghazi, because again, he's got the game week 29 fixture. He's very greedy, takes a lot of shots, as this table shows. And Lingard, again, he's on this table, 35.1 minutes per chance.
Some of the names on this list here just make me want to vomit. Who would have thought? It's like Loftus-Cheek and McAllister and stuff. It's just unbelievable. That shows you what we're working with at the moment. But
is it Oliver Burke in, Luke?
Yeah, he's on there. Look, Oliver Burke. He's up there, 31.3 minutes per chance. Obviously, this is the problem we've got. But this is what happens, though, when Salah, De Bruyne, Bruno, all of them are dipping. And suddenly we're going, where are we going to get our points from? And we're not looking at the big hitters anymore. We're looking at this type of player. And that's why Rafinha's so good at the moment. Like, next to this lot, Rafinha's an absolute diamond, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I suppose when it comes down to this, I look at the stats and I think, fair enough. But for me, I think, well, who's actually a good player as well in real life? And for me, that's where the itis and Rafinha obviously fits that bill. Neto fits that bill for me.
Yeah,
so.
Az loves Neto, don't you, Az? You always rated him.
Always said best player in the league,
yeah.
El Ghazi, I like him. He's definitely a fantasy player, I think, rather than a player in real life. He's definitely a fantasy player, but with Grealish just lurking, you never know. It's almost like pre-booking a swap, so I guess it's... Yeah. We don't really know enough there.
So who would you go with then? Rafinha, if you don't have him, that's a shoo-in, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. I suppose, given the blank as well, and the fact that you can play someone else in 28, Lingard makes sense. He's been playing very well, number 10, floating around. West Ham are playing fantastic, he makes sense. But yeah, for me, it's probably Neto and Mount that I would like if I could somehow just avoid that blank.
As yourself, you going to go boring old Mount or?
I think like this is the kind of thing. Obviously, we don't like injuries for players, but it's the kind of obviously Harvey Barnes, highly owned player, and this is the kind of decision which can actually make a season. You know, if you get in one of these guys and they do well for you, then it can be great. So yeah, I mean, I've got Lookman. I'm relatively happy with him, but wasn't too impressed with him tonight. But obviously, a tough game against Spurs. But obviously, has that game going forward. You mentioned Pepe earlier. I'm seeing him talked about quite a lot.
I know,
on Twitter, and kind of like it a little bit.
I just don't like it.
He's a punter. It's whether you think you can see these guys. If you can see these guys in your team long term, maybe you've already played the wild card. I think Lingard is the obvious one. But if you're just doing like a 2 or 3 week punt until the wild card, I think any of these players could do a job for you, except Oliver Burke.
Until the wild card is the key phrase. It's what we talked about at the beginning. I don't like bringing in these wild players because then they cost you a transfer in and out and often fail, and that's why I prefer to punt with the armband. And then we're asked to wire up a bunch of these players, so it's very tough to commit to them. I think that's the way I look at it. Anyway, by the way, just on this, I know we're on midfielders. Have you seen the stats for your mate up front from Sheffield United, Mark, recently? I don't
Mr.
know,
McGoldrick.
Yeah, they're looking top tier.
He did well. He's a good player, McGoldrick. He's a good Championship player. Hasn't got any pace. Obviously, he can't cut it at the Premier League level anymore, but he is a technically good player, and he's been probably their best bet, really, for goals. And I think he scored the week after I got him.
That's why they're getting relegated.
I know, but I do like McGoldrick.
Well, something he offers that none of the other Sheffield United forwards offer is the fact that he can actually pass the ball and receive it. Like everyone else just loses the ball.
And he's
instantly.
a decent finisher when he gets the opportunities, but he hasn't got the legs to get in the box as much as he used to. But he never was. I mean, he had a good season for Ipswich. He was at Forest, of course, so I know him from those days, and he'd never really succeeded at Forest. Absolutely flew when he went to Ipswich, but at Forest he never looked like a goal scorer. So.
Did you know he's only behind Kane in the last 4 game weeks for attempts on goal?
This is the kind of stat that I would normally roll out myself, but I haven't got that one tonight.
This is why we got you on, Luke.
Yeah, exactly. This is the goal. This is the stuff they need. We are going to look at these stats, though. I was looking at Man City. They got the double game week, right? So this is where we start talking about Gundogan and De Bruyne, because as well as the Bruno transfer and perhaps as well as the Salah transfer, people are considering shifting one of their City defenders and going Gundogan and De Bruyne for this double game week. City have got United and Southampton, of course, both home games. So I started looking at the goal getters in City's team, and I wanted to look at how the comparison between Gundogan and De Bruyne squares up. And Gundogan has got 13 goals this season, De Bruyne 3. This is all competitions. This is data from the BBC, by the way. And here you see it. Goals per 90, Gundogan miles out in front, 0.53, only just behind Jesus and Aguero, the 2 strikers, across all competitions of City. And De Bruyne right down there, 0.13 goals per 90. So there's no, in terms of the likelihood of scoring a goal, there's no competition for me. I think it is always on Gundogan, and we'll see more on that in a few slides' time. But obviously, De Bruyne is all about the assists. There's no competition there either. I think Gundogan's got 3 assists in FPL. Obviously, this doesn't show this because it's Opta assists only on this table. Whereas De Bruyne's got, I think 16 this season in all competitions and in FPL as well. So it depends what you value. But I think that also the fact that Gundogan didn't start that second fixture of game week 26 points to the fact that he's more likely for me to play both games. Where do you stand on this, Luke, about going 1 and City defender and going 2 in midfield and getting both? And if you had both, would you go De Bruyne or Gundogan captain this week?
I mean, I still prefer the double defence route, to be honest. But if I was going to go midfield, I'm with you. I think Gundogan, he's doing more and he costs half the price. And I feel like with De Bruyne, it's new and shiny. At the moment, we've just talked about how dreadful everyone seems to be playing and you want something to kind of kickstart it. And De Bruyne's obviously brand new and back. And yeah, I mean, what a player to bank on. He's one of the best in the league. But it's been a season-long thing now with him that he's just, the assists are there, but this more advanced role for him, he just doesn't seem to be able to turn it into goals particularly often. And if anything, it kind of helps the other players to get the goals quite a lot of the time. So He's a nice differential for sure, but I still feel like Gundogan, even though he's been slightly off, will probably play both the games. I think part of that might be because he has only just come back from that groin injury, and it felt like to me they've kind of rushed him back because they know how key he is. That's how it feels to me, and they just didn't want to have him play games in such a short space of time. So I think he'll be okay for both of them. I mean, predicting Pep's tough, isn't it? And I just feel like, at the end of the day, he's returning more for less price. So.
Where are you on this, Az? Are you going to get rid of one of your City defenders? Would you think about doubling up?
Oh, I mean, dare I say it, but City look better to me without De Bruyne in the team attacking.
It's true, actually. I mean, Gundogan came on as well, didn't he? And was right in it as well. Set up one of the goals of that shot that was parried, and was also right in the box for the Sterling dispossession that led to the third goal, I think. So, yeah, straight in the action.
I think Luke's bang on. I think if you're picking one of them, I think Gundogan is the one to go for, because he offers more than De Bruyne is doing for half the price. So why wouldn't you go with that?
Yeah.
I think the question mark more is the double up, like you say. And I say that I don't like looking at effective ownership and all this stuff, but actually I do use it for the kind of reverse. So rather than getting scared of players, I look at players who I think can give me a bit of a jump on others. And actually, De Bruyne now at 14% ownership, if he can hit a big haul, and if he, which he obviously is capable of doing. I mean, one open play goal for De Bruyne in this year is
it's crazy, isn't it?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
I think he's had 64 shots. 64 shots as well, I think he's had.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. So I think, I'd like to think there's going to be goals coming for him. So, and I think with Fernandes and Salah looking like they are sellable, and I look at Stones, and I think Stones has been really, really good for me since I got him in. But he has that threat of Laporte now. Cancelo I can take, because he can come in for a game, and I think when he does, even if he plays 50% of games, I think he's got this big hole in him. Stones is a bit more of a problem, because if he's only going to play 50% of games and his ceiling is like 6 or 7 points, then maybe I can do better to move that over to De Bruyne. So I am thinking of that, of actually moving Stones and Fernandes out for De Bruyne and another defender.
Okay. Well, we'll get to your team
later.
later.
Quite an attacking move.
What I'm showing here on the screen is the matches that Gundogan and De Bruyne have played together to see how they compared statistically. And there was a couple of matches before game week 8 where they were both on the pitch together. They didn't start, I don't think. So they've started together in these matches here, 8, 10, 11, 13, all down to 26 against West Ham when they both on the pitch, but both started rather. So this highlights to me how statistically De Bruyne has dominated Gundogan, because for everything, points, touches in the box, shots, and expected goal involvement, De Bruyne is out on top. The one stat where the Gundogan is stronger is shots in the box. And actually, if you look at the pattern of the statistics, you can see it's from about game week 15 that suddenly Gundogan became a factor in terms of getting into the box. And we saw it, didn't we, with the eye test? We saw suddenly it's like he's the furthest forward. When the crosses are coming in, he's on the penalty spot, and they might not fall to him, but he's there to pick up the bits and pieces. So there was a change in his role at that point. Which is why I think it's dangerous to look at this data and go, well, De Bruyne is the better player and it is the stronger player, because I think the actual pool of data you want to look at is smaller. It's probably from game week 16, 17 onwards when Gundogan's role switched and his impact on City changed. So I don't think this data, although it favours De Bruyne, sways me too much. But I am going to show you some data now which does sway me towards Gundogan more than anything. This is... because we talk about who are the best finishers in the league, right? And we talked about Son and we talked about Kane and Aubameyang. I looked at shot conversion rate thinking, okay, well, who are the best players for shot conversion rate in the league this season? I didn't expect Gundogan to be the best player in the league for shot conversion, but he is. So 36.7. So this is the percentage of his shots on target which turn into goals. 36.7 is his conversion rate. De Bruyne, look where he is, 7% conversion rate. So De Bruyne might have more shots, and this is shots excluding block shots. He has had 43 shots this season, whereas Gundogan's only had 30 shots that have actually made it past a block towards goal. But De Bruyne has only converted 7% of those shots, or 7% of his shots on target, and Gundogan's converted 36.7, which is the highest of any player in the Premier League. That's crazy. I did not expect to see that.
And we saw it like with that finish that he had the other week, where he literally just took it down, like took a touch and just slotted it past it. Like, it's like Gundogan. Where's that come from?
Oh, the close control. It was messy.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Crazy.
I mean, for me, when you look at that, I feel like that's a little bit of an anomaly. That can only, eventually that is going to converge into somewhere into the middle. And I mean, no one doubts De Bruyne. This is the thing. No one doubts him at all as a player or anything. It's dangerous to back against him. But for when I think about City and I think about how they score their goals, I mean, aside from maybe Mahrez cutting in and smashing one usually on the edge of the penalty area, generally their goals do come from inside the box. Like, I feel like they're mostly cutbacks. Maybe that's just my perception, but when I watch them, that is how I feel like they get a lot of their goals. It doesn't even seem to be for crosses. It seems to be from basically the old FIFA cutback, essentially.
Yeah, well, they play that move where Sterling got on the inside from a Cancelo through ball, and Mahrez the other side. Again, Cancelo's key to this because he plays that ball, doesn't he?
So Mahrez stays outside, tries to cut in and smash from his left foot, and Sterling usually drives at the box and tries to draw a penalty or then cut it across. So ultimately, you want the people that are in the box, and usually that's Gundogan on this end.
And when he has a shot, it's 56% of his shots are on target, and of those, he's scored 36% of gone in, and that. And when you look at the names in this table, it's not, Zaha in third is probably an anomaly. You wouldn't expect to see him up there. But the other names, you go, Calvert-Lewin, Fernandes, Salah, Vardy, Kane's in there, Aubameyang, Ings. These are the top finishers. These are the best finishers in the league. So it's not like...
More pies stealthed into there.
But maybe there's a few that have managed to sneak in. McGoldrick's in there. Look at McGoldrick. He's up there. Yeah, there he is. But it just surprised me. I just couldn't believe it. When I started looking at the City data, I thought, well, he's high for City. And then when I looked across the Premier League, I thought, hold on, he's got the best in the entire league, which is just astonishing. And that, for me, seals it. I just don't think... one, I'm not going to change my two City defenders and bring in De Bruyne because I think it would mean... I'd have to make two transfers to do it.
It's a lot of restructure, isn't it?
It is. And two, even if I had De Bruyne, the captaincy is still on Gundogan for me.
I think with just on that note, does anyone doubt that De Bruyne can then hit a couple of 25-yarders and bang him into the top corner? The thing is, it feels like we've been waiting for that for ages, so it's going to take that to start happening for it to change.
Yeah, but that's like gambler's fallacy, isn't it? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't want to put my captaincy on that really, but
I think the thing with De Bruyne is you've got the more important thing to me is do we see City winning a game by 3 or 4 goals rather than just 1 or 2.
I didn't think they would anymore, but they did.
At the moment, I don't.
No.
Yeah.
Not United. They're not going to win United by 3 or 4.
At the moment, it's surely about conserving energy. That's just the way to play, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
And that's what they're going to do. They're going to give it all against United, probably win that by the odd goal, and then Southampton, they'll manage it out, won't they? They'll have enough to beat Southampton. And I don't think De Bruyne has to play that game. This is the debate I've had. I looked at those 4 fixtures all at home, and I thought, well, I don't think many of them, if any of them, will play all 4, apart from Ederson, maybe Diaz. And yet there are people saying, well, why would De Bruyne not play? Well, he'd not play because they've got Europe. And also, I just think, why would he play him? Because he doesn't have to beat Southampton. They've already proved what a good team they can be without De Bruyne. And they've got Europe and they've won the league, more or less. Don't you think? Do we not think they've won the league? So
they've definitely won the league.
There's all kinds of reasons why De Bruyne wouldn't play both games.
There is. The only counterpoint I'll put on there, and Pep has said it in the past, is about giving his players rhythm. And De Bruyne is only just back from injury, so part of me feels, and he has played. When you look across his numbers, when he's fit, he's basically played nearly every game this season. Yeah. So part of me feels like he would probably play the Southampton game just off the basis of that, and maybe just come off early.
Maybe.
But we're second guessing Pep. Who the hell
we
knows?
are, but also on that score, Gundogan's had an injury and he needs to be brought back in for rhythm. And I think even if De Bruyne and Gundogan both played both games, I'm still team Gundogan for me. Based on
getting Mahrez, that's the
that's the gentleman's choice.
That's what I'm hearing.
That is the option, isn't it? That you could look at instead. Okay, we do these predictions, Luke, every week, and then it was meant to be a very kind of throwaway little thing that we did, and then Az decided that he'd make it competitive, that he'd hire someone to keep logging the scores. Presumably on the idea...
FPL Pot Noodle. When FPL Pot Noodle
much credit
contacts
to him.
You do not say no.
Fair enough. But I think it was on the basis that he thought he would get the better of me on these. So far, that's not been the case. We have
That
had
was definitely not.
Okay. Okay. But so far, we've had a miserable game week so far. So I'm not going to bring up the scores at the moment because we haven't got them hot off the press from FPL Pot Noodle. We're just going to work through these games. I mean, Luke, chip in with this, obviously.
Well, look, FPL Pot Noodle will be recording Luke's predictions.
Oh, will he?
Oh, we will? I was going to say, don't do that because then if they're terrible.
Pens out then. Pens out for this.
Basically, Luke, you got one chance to nail them, or that just gets put on your record.
Yeah, exactly. If he shows us up though in this week, okay.
Exactly.
Let's see how we go.
It's Luke all over. It's everything to lose, everything to gain. It's high risk, high reward.
He loves it. Absolutely loves it. Okay, well, you're talking about Aubameyang, and we were talking about Pepe. So obviously we're going to back Arsenal to win. Aubameyang. Don't give it. I've had beers as well. Come on. Burnley versus Arsenal. I'll go first then, as it often is the way. I think this is a 1-1. I'll go 1-1. I just don't see Burnley giving up much ground. Arsenal as well have got the European tie. They're all about that, I think. So I think even though they've recovered some form and they're showing some promise with Pepe and Saka and so on, I don't think Saka plays. I mean, that's the other thing. If Saka would be a name that we would consider for a Barnes replacement, I think, if we thought he was playing, but I don't think we can be certain of that. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. We'll go to Az next. Az, what do you reckon?
Me next. I think Arsenal win this one.
Do you?
I think Burnley are a funny team, and I think Arsenal have got the good win against Leicester. They played well against City. Only got beaten 1-0 in that. They can take heart from that. Pablo Mari's come into the team and has actually looked really good as well, I thought. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 Arsenal win. That's a narrow, but I think they'll nick it.
Luke, you going to back Chris Wood?
No, stunningly. I'll go 2-0 Arsenal. I hear what you're saying about they don't really need to win this one, but I'm just going to hope that Burnley are not at it again, and Aubameyang's fit and he plays, and it's a nice comfortable 2-0. The
thing is, well, Burnley, they're not on the beach yet. They're not safe by any means. So I think they've got to get something out of it, and that makes me think that. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Sheffield United, Southampton. As you go first on this one.
Oh God, what a game!
Yeah, it's a cracker.
What a game this
You've got to back McGoldrick, surely.
I can't believe Villa lost that game to Sheffield United.
Yeah,
I just and Sheffield United got the man sent off as well. Jagielka got sent off, and yeah, Luke, you weren't too happy with that.
That was the most shocking red card, honest to God. Yeah, horrific. It's never a red card.
Yeah, I don't think either team is capable of keeping a clean sheet. I don't really think either team is capable of scoring too many goals, so I was going to back a 1-1. The old Az special.
Okay. Yeah. I'll let you go for it next, Luke. I'm thinking about this one. I need to give it more thought.
Yeah, this is very tough, actually. Southampton have been nothing short of dreadful, so it's probably a risk to predict they're going to win, but I've got quite a few players of them in Sky, so I really need them to, so I'm going to go... I'll go 2-1 to Southampton.
They've got to win, or they are in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crunch game, this. Absolute crunch game. I think Sheffield United can't score more than one goal, can they?
Well, this is my thinking, yeah. And also the fact that Southampton play City a few days later, they're going to basically write that one off, I would imagine. So they've got to get points in this one. So it doesn't always work out that way. But they've got Danny Ings at the end of the day, and I know he's not been up to much recently, but he's just lethal, and I feel like it's only a matter of time before he starts scoring again, so it's going to be this week, and it's 2-1.
So they've got Jagielka suspended, presumably, right? So who are they going to play at the back? Have they got anyone left? I mean, I don't know what they're going to do there. They'll have to play Osborne, I guess, and move.
Stick Burke and back.
Yeah, you would think Southampton would score. So with that in mind, I'll go 2-1 Southampton. I think Sheffield United will get one, but I'll go 2-1 Southampton. Villa versus Wolves. I'll go first on this one. I love a Wolves game because
I know what the half-time score will be.
Do you? What do you mean?
Yeah, it'll be 0-0.
Yeah, it'll be 0-0 for sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I always go 0-0 for a Wolves game anyway. I might go Wolves nicking this. The thing is, I've gone right off Dean Smith. Right, gone right off Dean Smith. He's ruined it for me. He was going to be my manager of the year. Then he said that fantasy football thing. Did you see it, Az? And he goes,
"Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't No, I don't know about
that.
I live in the real world. It's like that's the kind of thing that bullies used to say to me 10, 12 years ago when I was bullied in my 30s. What am I saying? No, but it is this kind of thing that school bullies would say, isn't it? To someone.
Talk about Granville.
To the fans. Yeah, exactly. But it would be. If I was now in a school playground talking about my fantasy football team, Dean Smith, the equivalent of Dean Smith, would come up to me in the playground and say, "You want to live in the real world, get yourself a girlfriend and all that business."
That's what he would say. Shouting at players in a game. Like,
it reminds me of like a brash PE teacher from middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You've forgotten your kit, have you, Southern? The skin's for you. Yeah, I just don't. No, I liked him as well. I thought manager of the year. Now I'm going to give it to Moyes now. Yeah, Moyes manager of the year now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Villa, I'm going to go Wolves winning 1-0. There you go, Dean. Have that for your real world and smoke it.
Who do you want next, Mark? Go on,
Luke. Go on, Luke. Off you go. I'm not sure I am. Mark triggered it, said. Yeah, I am. Yeah, he's triggered me.
I'll go 1-1. I literally can't call it. It's the football at the moment's been so dire. Both these teams have been pretty dire. So I could see a 0-0, honestly, but I'll go 1-1 and hope there's at least a couple of goals.
Okay, this is degenerating into a bit of a drunken stupor just as we get to Brighton. So hang
on, I've got to do my Villa. I haven't done my Villa yet.
Go on then, get to Villa. Go on then. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go against both of you. I think 1-0 Villa. I'm going to back my mate Dean Smith. Grealish. I reckon Grealish will be back. I reckon they want him for this one.
Honestly.
And if he's back, then I think they win. So
the Dean Smith, Emi Martinez combination is now, don't like either of them. Martinez is killing me in fantasy. And Dean, you've just ruined it for me. Don't like Villa at all now. Sorry, Adam Hotkoff. Sorry. I just can't. Brighton versus Leicester. We'll get Az's view on Brighton versus Leicester in last because Jack needs to press record on the footage ready for the next movie he'll put out. It will go viral. Luke, do you want to go first on this one?
God, this is a dreadful match again with Leicester with so many injuries, isn't it? And Brighton just... I mean, it's already written in the stars, isn't it? That Brighton play well and Leicester win 1-0 with a Vardy counter or something like that.
He loves it.
1-0 Leicester.
Vardy loves it at Brighton. Doesn't he always score at Brighton?
I'll go 1-0
Do you know how many
Leicester.
attacking returns Vardy's got in 8 games against Brighton?
I think he's got no attacking returns in his last 20 outside a penalty. It's just been shocking.
But against Brighton, he'll manage it, won't he?
He's got 8 in 8.
Has he?
8 attacking returns in 8 against
Brighton.
Wow.
Has he really? Right. The fact that you can just pluck that stat out the sky means that's...
There you go.
Yeah, that's hurt you, hasn't it? I've got to go Leicester win. I mean, they haven't got much in the way of creativity without Maddison and they're cutting fast without Barnes. So I do worry that they'll struggle. And Brighton defensively is strong, but I think they'll score Leicester. I've got to go 1-0 Leicester, I think. Where's the Brighton goal going to come from? Are they going to score this week is my question to you.
Are you 1-0 as well, Luke?
I'm 1-0 to Leicester, yeah.
Yeah, we'll lose. We always lose against Leicester.
So you're being really po-faced on purpose, aren't you? Right? You're basically...
We've lost 7 out of 8.
Yeah.
Against Leicester. Vardy does something in every game. He's not injured. If he was injured, I'd say we probably had a chance, but he's not. I think we'll lose. I think it's just a question of how many.
You're in trouble, aren't you? You're in trouble.
We're getting sucked in, and I don't like it. I was on a quiz yesterday with The Athletic, and Bruno, our El Capitan, came on, and it was amazing. And they asked him outright, "Do you think we're in a relegation battle?" And he played it down. He was like, "No, absolutely not. It's all about how high we finish and all this kind of stuff." And I was thinking, I don't know. I'm not as confident as you, Bruno.
So Bruno came on the Zoom call, did he?
He did. He came on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that man so much.
I've met him a couple of times. He was always down at Brighton Beach and off places like that. And he's a lovely man. Yeah, really nice.
He's
guy.
Absolutely. He's just the loveliest guy. Massive, such a professional. Like gave everything to Brighton. His coach now, first team coach. He's great. He says he sees them in training and they're working. I won't go on about Brighton too much. We'll lose this game 2-0.
Fair enough. You're gonna be really careful now every time you get to Brighton every week, just in case Jack's sitting there with the sampler and the pause. But yeah, fair enough. Yeah. West Brom Newcastle, another classic. This is it. Sunday, 12 o'clock. Get in the car, find a garden centre that's open because it's West Brom Newcastle. This is it. This is the one. I mean, this is another crunch game though. When you look at it here, Sheffield United, Southampton, West Brom, Newcastle. These games could be the turning point for certainly for West Brom if they can get the victory. And I think they will. I'm going to play Johnston this week. on the basis that Newcastle will probably be without Saint-Maximin and Almiron. They're obviously without Wilson. I think West Brom win 1-0.
We keep going the same. That's exactly what I was going to say, 1-0. I mean, it's depressing giving all these low-scoring things, but he said Newcastle got half their attack out, and West Brom, they seem to find a way, don't they, to get one goal in a game quite often. So I'll go 1-0 as well.
And as?
I don't think there'll be many times when we all agree on an exact score, but I also think 1-0. I just think it's primed for an Allardyce victory. I don't know how Newcastle were going to score.
No.
Maitland-Niles is going to score for West Brom.
Maitland-Niles playing in midfield. I think he's a good. I think you have to play him. Look, we can talk about your team later. You're asking who's going to play, but I think you've got to play him. I've got a friend who's a big Newcastle fan, and he is convinced they're going to get relegated. Like convinced. He says they've got nothing. The Richie's falling out with the team now. They've got arguments starting off in the board. He says there's no quality left in the squad, and he can't see them. He just can't see any games in which they're going to pick up points. He's really, really concerned about it. And I think if you're looking at teams to target, I think Newcastle might end up being a team that we all look to target against. So
but the injuries have been bad. I mean, I've missed when Darlow has let Newcastle down because Dubravka's back in goal now. But did Darlow have a couple of bad games? I mean, I've not been watching them on Match of the Day when they were in the last game. But
I don't think
really.
so.
No, I don't. I missed when he had a howler. I mean, Darlow's been their best player, I think, this season.
Do you remember the last time I was actually on here was when Dubravka was back, and I was saying I think Dubravka will come straight in, and you said no, Darlow's the better keeper, 100%, and you were right. It happened, but eventually it seems to he's just turned it around. I mean,
but the fact he's put him back in, I think, is almost a bit of a desperation. It's like, well, that's not going to help.
Did you see his comments about putting Dubravka back in?
No, go on. What do you say?
He did talk about it. He said he's looking for. It's weird. He said he's looking for someone to kind of spark the team.
Yeah, that's it.
A bit different and to ignite it. And it's like your goalkeeper.
I know, this is it. I think it is a move of desperation. It's like, well, I've got so little resources. The one thing I could do is bring Dubravka back in and hope his seniority helps, but that's not.
I think he was a bit flaky
crazy
in his last game as well. Dubravka.
Yeah,
one of the goals he should have stopped.
He should have stopped. Yeah, Darlow would have saved. And as soon as that went out, Darlow would have saved that. I think he's been outstanding, Darlow. I think
some of the best. Sorry.
I think he was on the verge of getting into the reckoning for the squad, for the England squad. He was not far off. He was in the conversation, and now that's gone too. I feel sorry for him. But yeah, sorry, Az.
No, sorry, it's my fault. Some of the best bit of punditry I've ever seen, though, was Jermaine Beckford the other day.
Yeah.
And they asked him about Newcastle, and he said, he was talking about Joe Linton, and the way he described Joe Linton as being pretty much the crappiest player he's ever seen in his life.
Didn't say that though, did he?
And that's come from Beckford.
but he did it in such a political, let's just say if you were Newcastle, you wouldn't want Joe Linton being the player who you rely on. Something really diplomatic that. And I was like, that is brilliant.
I've called Beckford a couple of times and I like him actually. I think he's really good.
He was brilliant. I thought he was I wasn't expecting him to come across so well. Yeah, I thought he was excellent on that, and I loved his comments about Joe Linton.
Yeah. Well, what can you say?
He's right. I mean, 40 million Joe Linton leading the line. I think they're in big trouble.
Disaster. Okay, we've all gone 1-0 there. Liverpool Fulham. Just before we do this, what was the final score for Anfield?
1-0 Chelsea.
1-0 Chelsea. Right. Deary me. Another home defeat. Is that 5 in a row? I think. Did I predict one? I predicted 1-0 Chelsea as. I did. Oh.
Nice. Yeah, I think I went for 1-1. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we needed to get one right. We've been terrible recently. Anyway, let's see if we can get this one right. Liverpool.
I've been all right this week.
Have you? Okay. So speaking for myself, Liverpool versus Fulham. Is this going to be a 6th home defeat? I mean, to be honest, Fulham will fancy their chances given that run of results, and they're not playing badly. I think this is a draw. I don't think Liverpool can win this.
The same as me. It's going to be a 1-1.
I was going to say 1-1. Yeah. I'm going to go 1-1. I'll let you go next, Luke. Sorry, I keep nicking your scores, but I'm going to go 1-1. Yeah.
It looks like I'm just copying whatever you say now. Yeah, we've got to change around. No, I'm just 1-1. I mean, I can't see Liverpool not getting a goal against Fulham, but at the moment, can you see much more than that? And Fulham just seem to find a way, don't they, to get one as well.
It's either 1-0 Liverpool or 1-1. I think that's where it's going to go.
I don't know. I may even go maybe 2-1 Fulham. I don't know. No, 1-1. I'll go 1-1.
As?
I wasn't too impressed with Fulham, like I said earlier. I don't think they're that good. I think Spurs. I think Fulham have been much improved, and I've seen a lot about them that I like, but I don't think they're particularly good tonight. Surely Liverpool don't lose this game for a start. I'm going to back them to win it. I'm not completely comfortable backing them to win it, and I'm not going to back them for a clean sheet. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Liverpool.
It's what has it come to? What is it like?
But
it's crazy, isn't it?
early in the season, this is like the game you would be like,
Yeah.
Salah triple captain material maybe, and now it's like maybe we can even sell Salah before Fulham at home.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I suppose
It's
actually
crazy,
the thing is with Jota, if he then plays this game, does that change things for you? Maybe. I mean, it might change things for them in terms of it gives them a lift.
They're desperate, aren't they? Short of bringing Dubravka in for their keeper, what can they do other than bring Jota in? I mean, they need a lift, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just. Yeah, I'll go 1-1 still.
You're sticking with Trent though in your team.
I am sticking with Trent. He's looked good though. He's looked good recently. He was really impressive where he played against Sheffield United. But I think that I didn't see him tonight. But I think that positioning against Sheffield United was a one-off because Sheffield United have no width today. So I think I'm not getting carried away. But I'll hold him for this game and see. City United. I'll let you go first, Luke. There we go. I'll give you the really tough one to go first on.
Yeah, I was going to say this is now the hard one. I want to say that Man United are going to score because I feel like, although we've been dreadful recently, this is the kind of game where we raise our game, and it kind of suits the way we play as well. Basically, just not to have the ball and try and counter on them. But City have been so good at snuffing out that counter of late that it probably doesn't work, and they end up winning probably 1 or 2-0. So I'm going to go 2-0 City by really. I think there's a chance Man United score.
Okay, Az, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, I mell I've been backing, United 0-0s in these kind of games, and it seemed to be working quite well. But I think City will have too much for them, so I'll just go for a 1-0 or 1-0 City. I think they'll just get a goal and just see it out. That's
how I see it as well. But I'm going to go with 0-0 just to be different to Az because I think we're copying each other too much. So I'll go 0-0. I think City will take that in the situation they're in, and with Liverpool, I mean, where's the threat coming from now for City? I just don't see. There isn't one, is there? There's no one. No one's got any momentum, have they?
Yeah, United.
The only thing I think that could happen is Kyle Walker loves to give a penalty away. If he plays at right back against Rashford, I feel like we could get a Bruno Fernandes penalty in this game, just as everyone sells him or benches him. It's almost written in fantasy stars, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when I say where's the threat, I mean where's the threat coming in terms of the league title?
Oh, right.
No one's building any.
Yeah,
no one's got a head of steam to take them on. So not only are City looking like they're going to win every game, nobody's getting close to any consistency at all. So, Leicester
There'll probably be a shock result for City at some point between now and the end of the season, just because of that, because they haven't got that.
0-0 would be the end to their run of wins, wouldn't it? So I think Solskjaer will go out to try and stop that, wouldn't he? That's what he's going to go there for. He's going to go for a 0-0. So I'll go with that. Spurs Palace. Az, do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's difficult because I get slated every time I say
you get a meme for that, don't you?
Yeah. I don't know. It depends what team Spurs put out. I think that's the key question. I mean, Palace, I didn't expect to keep a clean sheet against United. I didn't expect them to keep a clean... I mean, 2 clean sheets against Fulham and United. Van Aanholt would have been a great shout on people's, free hit teams or bench boosts, but no one really considered them. I got to say the thing that Spurs win it. I got to think that Bale gets something given the fact it's Van Aanholt and how many chances they concede. So I'll go for a 2. I'll say Zaha's back, isn't he? I'll go for 2-1 Spurs. 2-1 Spurs.
Okay. And Luke?
I'll go 3-0 Spurs. I've got to have one game where there's more than one goal.
Yeah,
I think. So
that's what I'm thinking as well. And the thing is, at this time last week, Az went 3-0 Spurs over Burnley, and I went 4-0, and the chat erupted like we'd just done something scandalous, absolutely destroyed on that, weren't we? And then what happened? 4-0 Spurs.
I think think with Spurs though, it needs to happen in the first 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
otherwise it won't be anywhere near that. I mean, that's pretty obvious to say, really, when you think about it. But yeah, I'm hoping it can be a 3-0 with a couple of early goals.
The thing is, because they've got the European tie next, I think Spurs will play with a handbrake on. I think they could easily win this 4-0 if they went for it, but I don't think they will. So I'll go just the 1-0, I think. The 1-0. Lots of 1-0s about, but actually there's a reason for that. No one looks like they want to, play with the handbrake off, do they? And talking of 1-0s, Chelsea-Everton.
This is going to be a good game.
Yeah, it should be. You'd hope, wouldn't you? But I don't know. I mean, Chelsea's defence, do Everton score there? I mean, at the moment, I'm benching Calvert-Lewin. and I'm benching Dino at the moment. You'll see in a bit. So I've got to back Chelsea to win this on that basis. And it's hard to look beyond 1-0. I'll go 2-0 Chelsea. Luke, is that what you were going to say?
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say it just because you were going to say 1-0, so now I'm going to say 1-0. But yeah, 1-2-0. We did this before. Remember when people benched Calvert-Lewin against Man United and then he turned up and scored? It feels like it could be a similar situation. But I think given Chelsea's defensive numbers of late, I mean, they're going to strangle the ball, hold on to it the whole time. Everton seem to be quite content to play compact and sit against the teams that have more possession than them. So, yeah, it just screams 1 or 2-0 to me.
And lots of shouts out for Richarlison in the chat. I think he's got 4 in a row, hasn't he? So, he's on a good run. He could hurt them. Is
Thiago Silva going to be back or not?
Don't think so. I saw him mentioned today on Twitter, so maybe he is fit. But where do you reckon for this?
Well, Richarlison's a really annoying one because I don't remember, a few weeks ago I was debating playing my bench boost in a single game week, and I had Calvert-Lewin injured, and to play the bench boost I was going to do Calvert-Lewin to Richarlison, and I was worried because I wanted Calvert-Lewin back. If I just stuck with that, I'd have been about 40 points better off.
Would have, could have, as you've said before.
Would have, could have, exactly. I do. Yeah, you're right. I'm everything I hate. I'm really looking forward to Monday. I think both of these games are actually really exciting for different reasons. I think the Chelsea-Everton game is going to be really tactical, and even if it is quite a boring game, I'm still quite interested to see Ancelotti up against Tuchel. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then I'm looking forward to West Ham Leeds because I think it's going to be quite open and exciting.
Yeah.
I am half tempted to back Everton in this.
Wow.
And
their away record's brilliant, right?
Their away record is brilliant. And Chelsea are still struggling to score too many goals. So I'm going to back a 2-1 Everton.
Brave.
In this.
So you'd play Calvert-Lewin, would you?
I'm playing him. I'm not playing Dean currently. I just think Chelsea they are very good defensively, but I think Everton have been managing their attackers quite well and have different systems to kind of mix things up a little bit. And I think with Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, you've got Dean there, you've got Rodriguez probably going to come back in. Alan's back as well, and he does such an amazing job just mopping stuff up too. And Chelsea, they still don't strike me as being too settled. Like Chilwell's in, Alonso's in, Werner plays, Giroud plays, Abraham plays. It's still a bit kind of.
But he's getting results. He's getting results. So
it is getting
working.
Results. It is getting results. It is absolutely. But I think Everton know they've got everything in place. They've got their system in place. And I just think they're going to have a little bit too much for Chelsea in this game. Wow. So I'm going to back Everton 2-1.
Blimey, okay, I didn't see that coming.
I think that's working because it's keeping the players fresh, and I think that's why a lot of the teams are struggling because they're so tired. So the fact that he's got a squad to rotate, I think, is a plus point more than anything, and it seems to be working at the moment. So that's why, I think Chelsea will be all right 2-0.
Yeah, I'm surprised how he's come in and got results so quickly. Lampard must be absolutely hating it. It's been... West Ham Leeds, I mean, this is the one, isn't it? Whatever you do, watch this game. Surely this is going to be a cracker. I mean, both teams offer plenty going forward, and I can't see this being a defensive game.
Most importantly, it's not on Leeds' pitch.
No. So, Rafinha could do all kinds of things. Yeah, he's got to be fancied for this. I'm going to go 3-2 West Ham. Luke, where are you going with this?
Oh, that sounds good. I can't wait to watch that game.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm recording that. Yeah.
Oh, God. I'm going to be boring again. I'm going to say 1-1. I really hope it's not that. I'm going to say 1-1.
That's terrible.
I'm going to go with George Ephremidis in the chat. He predicts a 2-2.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a really exciting, really open game. I think Bamford and Antonio both going to get points. I think you've got players like Lingard, Rafinha, Dallas that could all do really well. Of all the games this week, I'm looking forward to this one the most.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
It'll probably be a 0-0, but I'll back a 2-2.
Yeah, agreed. And finally, Man City Southampton, which looks like the most 2-0 game I've ever seen. I'm going to go 2-0 City.
Well, City have been conceding a couple of cheap goals.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, like I said, I do think there is a potentially a strange result coming at some point. I don't think it's this one because I think Southampton are really bad. So I'm just going to back a comfortable City 3-0 win in this one. I don't rate Southampton at the moment. They're just not right at all. So yeah, easy win for City.
Yeah. And Luke?
I'll go 4-0. It'll be a
Wow.
comfortable 2-0, and then the last 10 minutes, Mahrez won't care about Pep's instructions and belt one in from 30 yards or something. So yeah.
Well, they'll make some changes, bring on some big names, and knock them outside.
Aguero to get his first goal, maybe.
Yeah.
In that game.
Yeah. Absolutely. So there you go. Let's see if Luke beats us, and he probably will, won't he? But we'll have to see.
I don't know.
We'll never have him on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a brief look at the captains. We've touched on Gundogan and De Bruyne. I mean, this is the plan going ahead. What's interesting here is the Bruno thing. A lot of people are saying they're getting rid of Bruno because looking ahead, he's not going to be their captain very often. And you've got to say, we've got him highlighted for game week 30. At home to Brighton, but arguably you'd play Kane or Son at Newcastle in that game, probably if you had them and you captain them. So you don't need to go Fernandes in that. So you're looking around it, it's all about the Spurs players and the City players coming up for the captaincy at the moment. And this week, Gundogan and De Bruyne look by far and away the best options. Just looking ahead there, I mean, as I guess you're getting rid of Bruno because of this reason as well, that you just don't see him being your captain from now until probably the end of the season, maybe once or twice. I think they got Fulham at home maybe as a game there, but
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly, and it's similar with Salah as well. Like we talked about him. I'm not going to be captaining either of them for the foreseeable. So, I do think there is potential, and they haven't got the game in 29, so there is kind of some potential. I mean, it's Gundogan. It's Gundogan for me. If I was sure he was going to play, he'd obviously be my captain every week. So you've obviously got that slight bit of risk with him. But yeah, I think it's going to be him or it's going to be Kane.
Yeah, well,
going forward.
Looking at the data specifically for this week, obviously I've separated De Bruyne and Gundogan out. And of those two, I mean, I've already said my money's on Gundogan. Statistically, he's stronger over the season for the key performance indicators we look at here, particularly the minutes per expected goal involvement. Actually, no, De Bruyne is stronger on that, but I just think, as we saw with his conversion rate and the fact that it's goals, Gundogan's got the 11 goals to De Bruyne's 3, and I think, as you said, Luke, I think you were right earlier. I think the nature of the way City score their goals, it's like we saw Sterling get so many of his goals from those tap-ins coming in on the far post, and we're seeing Gundogan benefiting in the same way, getting late into the box, Mahrez or Sterling either taking a shot that's deflected and he taps it in, or they're crossing and he's on the end of it, or Jesus is. And
well, even Stones
that's
is
it.
There for the cut.
Yeah,
these days.
Exactly. So I don't see De Bruyne in those positions. I see De Bruyne relying on breaking into the box and scoring from range.
He's the one who's normally created that position in the first place by a ridiculous rundown and then across to someone else who, the assister of the assister. Yeah. Having said all that, we all know he can belt one in from 20 yards quite easily, can't we? So.
Yeah, but it's the minutes per points there as well. He's got that advantage, Gundogan, 11.8 compared to 15.2. And so you reckon the same as your game, Gundogan over De Bruyne, if you had them both?
That's a tricky one. It's difficult. There you go. There's your soundbite.
There it is.
If I had both, I would probably go for De Bruyne.
Would you?
And that is because I do think De Bruyne is more likely to start both games.
Do you?
Right. But it's close. It's close. You just got to think. You've got to. I just like De Bruyne as this kind of differential pick now, and I didn't like him early in the season, largely because everyone had him. Everyone and their dogs had him. Whereas now he's not in many teams. So I think if you are looking for someone to shake things up a bit, I think switching to two midfield and sticking the captaincy on him in every game that isn't blank is a pretty viable strategy. So I do like him.
I think the fact that there's rotation in the back now for City means that they will concede silly goals in matches they shouldn't concede in.
Yeah,
because Laporte and Stones are rotating, and I think that does worry me with Cancelo. The fact that now Cancelo's only playing maybe 3 out of 4. Plus, when he does play, he's playing in a game where Stones is also rotated and they might concede. So it does make me think. That makes me think that maybe it is time to move to 2 City attacking players. But I still think if I had Gundogan and De Bruyne, it would be on Gundogan here. Looking at the single game week players, Mane, Salah, Kane and Son, it's not really much competition, is it? Because, I mean, Mane and Salah blanked again tonight and the form has been bad. But also when you look at the 2 defences, Liverpool play Fulham and Spurs play Palace. You look at the last 4 matches, Palace minutes per XG conceded non-penalty 57.5. Fulham 155.2. Fulham's defence is so superior to Palace's over the last 4, and also over the season, that you've got to go with the Spurs men if you had the option of going for a single game week player. I think
of single game players anyway that we've already mentioned, Aubameyang and Antonio are two that stand out to me just on the nature that I feel like there could be some more goals in those games compared to some of them. I mean, we went through the predictions already, and aside from Spurs and Man City versus Southampton, they all had about 1 goal in them, apart from maybe West Ham, Leeds, and maybe Arsenal 2-3. So if you're going to go for a single player, it's got to be one where a game you're backing some goals in, right? And West Ham, Leeds is as good as any. Yeah,
we haven't got them on the table, but I mean that would be Maverick. I mean, like you said about the way to beat Maverick is with the captaincy, and I think if you've held Antonio, that could be a really good option. When Az regrets getting rid, if you had Antonio now, would you be in the running for your captaincy?
Well, not really. Not this. I think I'd always back the double game week,
right.
The double game week player. We've talked about it before. You know, the fact Gundogan's got 2 shouts at scoring and playing, I think makes him better. But I feel a little bit like Antonio this week, as I did about Harvey Barnes. You know, when all the kind of just stars align, and you just see a fixture, and you see a team, and you see a player, and you think this is just really going to suit. I mean, I think
that was against really Leeds as well. Leeds do this to
people.
I think they make you think, yeah.
Because with Phillips out and stuff, I think West Ham are just going to have a kind of a vice grip on that game, and Antonio's going to be benefiting from. They've got so much creativity, and I just don't see how Leeds are really going to be able to stop them scoring. You know, at least a couple of goals in that game, and I'm annoyed with myself because. You know, obviously Kames was a great shout, but I kind of ripped my team up a bit to get him in. And I broke up 3 strikers who were performing well in Calvert-Lewin, Bamford and Antonio. And I'm looking at him thinking, I actually really miss Antonio because he hasn't done anything wrong. So, yeah, I'm a little bit frustrated with that. So I really like Antonio. I think if you've held him through this, I think this is the game where you could see a good return.
No, I agree with that. Okay, let's look at our teams then to round off on. I'll let you go last, Luke. So we'll start with Az. What are you doing then? Are you actually going to get this Bruno move? Are you going to do it?
I'm tempted by Fernandes to Bale or Son. I'm slightly tempted by Fernandes to Aubameyang, but that feels like much more of a real punt. The other thing that I've been kind of talking myself into throughout this pod is moving Fernandes and Stones out for De Bruyne and a 4.6 defender. Ideally one who has a game in 29, and kind of shift things around, and then I'll probably give the captaincy to De Bruyne as well.
Wow!
So I could do that.
Yeah.
Maitland-Niles is 4.6. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think that's not a bad shout this week. I think getting De Bruyne and Maitland-Niles in this week is quite an exciting prospect. It's just annoying that Maitland-Niles doesn't have the game. He doesn't have the game in 29, does he, West Brom?
Yeah.
He does. Yeah.
That's why I was. Yeah.
Wow. That could be it.
He plays versus the worst team ever. Oh no! Wait, no, he's not playing Brighton.
Oh.
Convincing argument.
Who West Brom got in 29?
No, they haven't got anyone in 29.
I thought they had as well for some reason.
I didn't think so.
No, for some reason I was thinking it was Newcastle.
We're both wrong.
They're playing Newcastle this week. That's what's plagued into my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, that's a gimme.
That puts me off a little bit. So I if I was going to go for someone, I'd probably go for a Brighton defender and bench them and play Dean, because Brighton have got Newcastle in 29.
Yeah, that's very true.
So yeah, that'd be the exciting move.
You captain De Bruyne, so it's on Gundogan at the moment. So. You captain De Bruyne, so you're benching Dina, Lookman, and Dallas. So your team is Martinez, just for the pod. Martinez, Cancelo, Stones, Target, Salah, Fernandes, Gundogan, captain, Rafinha, Bamford, Kane, Vice, Calvert-Lewin. And Dina, Lookman, Dallas.
I just think Stones is a bit of an issue because I love him. He's been great. And I didn't think I'd be saying I love him at this point. But he is going to miss games.
He'll play United and miss Southampton, probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. And Laporte is obviously... I mean, how Laporte is a backup centre-back when he could literally be first choice for any team probably in the world. And yet he's not first choice for City. Just shows how strong they're... How strong their squad is.
Do you look at Cancelo and Stones and think they're both going to play United and they both could miss Southampton?
Yeah. But I think if Cancelo plays, he has the bigger ceiling, so he's the one I'd keep out of the two.
But looking at their fixtures, right, that 3 days after that they play away to Fulham, and then obviously they play in the Champions League 3 days after a Tuesday against Borussia. Do you not think if they're going to rest the players, and you're saying like Cancelo's, for example, 3 and 4, does that not mean that he misses away to Fulham?
Yeah, I mean,
versus Borussia?
I think Cancelo will get both games personally,
Right,
but I don't know about
will.
Stones. I think I'm less secure on Stones.
I just think if you think he's playing his perfect first team, whatever that may be, which I think we're saying is basically Cancelo, Zinchenko, Stones, and Diaz at the back. That's against Borussia, and then therefore the rest will come against Fulham, and then you like to think he'll play. Therefore, Cancelo will play in the other 2 games, so that's why Cancelo's going to be my captain. But we'll get onto that in a minute.
This second guessing Pep, we love it, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my team. Johnston, I'm playing over Pope in goal, home to Newcastle. Diaz, Trent Alexander-Arnold, at home to Fulham. Cancelo, Rafinha, Fernandes, Gundogan, captain, Son, Souček, Kane and Bamford. So I'm benching Calvert-Lewin, Dallas and Dino at the moment. And here is my transfer that I could do, that I'm really tempted to do, and I may well do tonight. See what you think. I'm going to go Souček to Lingard.
Captaining Mark is an excellent idea, and you won't regret it.
Well, I've been looking at Souček over recent weeks, and I've actually since Lingard arrived, and Souček's frequency of getting in the box is dipping quite a lot. If they were playing anyone other than Leeds, it would be a definite. But the fact they're playing Leeds and Leeds have got that set-piece vulnerability, it makes me worried about doing it. But I look at West Ham's run, and if we go back to the ticker, we remember that they were second, right? So they've got a great run to the end of the season. Lingard, as we've spoken about, is pushing to get in Southgate's squad, and his form is undeniably stronger than Souček's. Souček will get goals between now and the end of the season. He'll get 2 or 3 goals at least, right? But when you least expect it. But I think Lingard he's returned in 4 or 5 games, I think.
I think he's returned in virtually every game.
Yeah.
At least something. Yeah.
I just think he's a player that excites me. And I think having Rafinha and Lingard, they're cheap players, but actually they're performing well above their price range. And I think I'd rather have Lingard for the run-in than Souček. And I think it's a way, because people won't get Lingard because of his Man United fixture, he can't play in 28. I think that puts people off him. It's a way I look at Lingard and think, going into 29, when West Ham have got that fixture, Lingard is one of those players that I think people on a free hit will definitely get. They'll definitely get Antonio. They'll definitely get Lingard. They're not going to get Souček over Lingard. They'll get Lingard. So I just think there's a chance of stealing a march there and being a bit aggressive and doing it. It's a sideways move. And Souček against that Leeds defence is a worry. But I think Lingard equally could cause him a lot of problems. So I'm thinking of doing that. What do you think, Luke?
I like Lingard, but it is very crabbage, isn't it? That's the absolute crab move of the century. Souček to Lingard.
It is.
Yeah, it doesn't sound terribly exciting because it's just Souček out. But yeah, as a pick, Lingard, I like him from now. And I mean, he's playing in the number. How many number 10s do we even get in the Premier League? And it was pretty. It's a rare opportunity to pick these kind of guys, and yeah, I'm all for that.
His confidence as well. It's ridiculous. It's the goal he got. You know, it's
just one-touch football all over the place. Like what he's looking, he's always spinning round. His vision all round. I mean, he looks a better player than when he was at Man United half the time. And then that left-footed strike into the corner for one of his goals.
But even against City, he looked good against City, and he got the assist, and he really showed up in that game as well. He stood out. As you look like you're going to frown, you're shaking your head. You're making a Robert De Niro style face. No, you're not liking it.
My Souček radar's, going off on one.
Oh yeah, you do. You do have a Souček radar. What are you feeling? What are you sensing?
Well, Leeds aren't good at defending set plays, and
I know.
he seems to be the kind of player who could do really well in this game. I also think we don't have we're playing the wild card in 30, so we want to get as many players out in 29. You haven't got a keeper at the moment in 29, so you're probably going to want to use a transfer to get a keeper in. Yeah, and that'll be a transfer that you can't do for free because you've done Souček to Lingard. It seems a bit unnecessary.
I got my plan. My plan was to hold the transfer this week. So I can make a transfer this week and still get Johnston to Martinez next week. But what it means is...
here's the plan. Yeah, here it is.
In 29, I've only got one transfer then if I do that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Luke, but I think making a plan like this is a good idea. Az refuses to do it. He just
Make a
point
month
blank.
every day.
Don't you start nicking my bloody template and everything.
So it won't stop me getting Martinez in next week, but it means I've only got one transfer in 29. But I just look at it and think, I like Lingard. I want to own him for that Leeds game. I just want to be excited by having Lingard in that game.
On that set piece note, by the way, and of course it could happen because he's 6'4" and he is good in the air. How many goals have Souček actually scored from set pieces? Because I swear every time I remember him scoring, it's him breaking late to the box, scoring with his feet.
Yeah, he got one from a corner for me with his head. I can't remember who it was against Brighton, wasn't it? In fact, yeah, sorry, Has. Yeah.
It seems to be overplayed a lot. Maybe I could be wrong, but just from memory, it feels like he scores an awful lot with his feet for a big man, and not always from a set piece.
How dare he break that stereotype of a big midfielder? He's meant to be Fellaini. How many did he get with his feet? It's ridiculous. Yeah, I do fear doing it, and if it wasn't Leeds, anyone but Leeds, I would do it. But I'll think on the other move is I just bank the transfer. Should I play Calvert-Lewin over Souček?
No.
Okay.
I'd play Souček, and I wouldn't sell him this week.
All right, thank you. We'll see. I'll let Twitter know what I do Saturday morning. Luke, Cancelo captain? Seriously?
Yeah, why not? He's I've got all
better than
the main
Vestergaard, Luke.
Yeah, better than Vestergaard. In fact, Vestergaard will go off this week because I captained Diaz about 3 weeks ago in a double and he only played one, and then he goes and scores in the next one. That's typical. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if Cancelo only gets one, and that's home to Man United, I still see it as being maybe a clean sheet. So if he gets 6, 7, 8 points in there, maybe he gets an attacking return in that game because they can't handle him. I don't think many people can handle where he's going to be popping up all over the pitch as usual. I know he's had this threat the whole season and basically returned nothing in terms of assists and goals, but you only have to watch him play to realise that it is going to happen again at some point. So yeah, worst case scenario really is they concede against Man United. I get 4 points. He doesn't play versus Southampton. It's not the end of the world because I don't see many other captains that stand out this week anyway, and I've got most of them. So again.
So just for the podcast, it's Areola, Cancelo, captain, Stones, Vestergaard, Maitland-Niles, of course, Gundogan, Vice, Bale, Salah, Rafinha, Watkins, Kane, and someone called Bruno Fernandes first sub, Calvert-Lewin and Dallas.
Bad.
Yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario with Cancelo captain is Bruno Fernandes scores a penalty.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. Basically, I had Bruno Fernandes originally in there, but I just really want to play Maitland-Niles this week. But when you say that out loud, I'm going to bench Bruno Fernandes for Maitland-Niles. West Brom.
Dear me.
It's got tragedy all over it.
It really has.
So,
I mean, I saw you saying, how do I get Maitland-Niles in this team? Yeah.
I'd probably bench Watkins. From that.
I think I
He'd be
would.
the one.
Yeah, I suppose.
Tempting.
I don't like. I mean, my bench is. I've been having points on the bench apart from this week, every week, and I look at my bench there and think Meslier could outscore Areola, Fernandes could easily, and Calvert-Lewin and Dallas could all outscore any of my defenders there, and that's the problem of having so much money at the moment. It just means you have poor benches, but Fernandes might find his way in there. But yeah, Cancelo captain, and I hope he plays 2 for the logic that I said before that maybe if they're gonna rest someone, it'll be away to Fulham in the game beforehand, and he plays the next 2. But that is an absolute crapshoot at the end of the day. He could easily not play it.
Have you made your transfer then?
This is with saving a transfer. I mean, I don't know what I would do. The only thing is, I'm struggling to fit Bruno Fernandes in my team.
You get rid of Bruno, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, but then who would there then drop from the rest of my team?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I see.
Watkins.
No, Watkins is still looking decent. He's not. He's one of the best forwards.
He's not an FPL. He's a great player. He's not a great FPL pick, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I think he's going to do well against Wolves.
I just don't see it without Grealish there. I just don't see it. He misses enough when Grealish is there, but yeah.
Didn't you back a 0-0 in the? What do you back in Wolves?
1-0 Wolves.
I didn't. I backed 1-1, didn't I?
Right.
Pretty sure I did.
1-1.
1-1 Watkins. I'm a dreamer.
No, it's fair enough. I mean,
I don't live in the real world like Dean Smith. I live in the 1-1
No, absolutely. Why does anyone want to live in the real world at times like this? That's the question I've got for Dean Smith. Anyway, it's time for Smash and Likes before we thank Luke for being on the show. Do your usual, Raz.
Do my usual, yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us waffle on for nearly 2 hours. As always, hit the like button right now. Hit it right now.
last week we got our most likes, 1,500. Yeah, he did wonders for us. So thanks very much to everyone who liked.
Exactly. If you've listened this far and you haven't hit the like button, what's wrong with you? Also, sub to the channel. And Luke, thank you so much for coming on. As always, great guest. Are one of our favourites always, and we'll be keen to see how you do with Fernandes on the bench. What can go wrong?
It's all about
I'll be
Maitland
selling him,
Niles.
you'll be benching him.
It's all about Maitland Niles for me.
Something tells me I won't be on next week. We can sell a captain and Bruno Fernandes on the bench.
We'll have to see. We'll have you on before the end of the season.
You're only on when you do well, aren't you, Luke?
Yeah, exactly. I knew you were going to throw that.
Begging us to come on this week.
He did. I want to sing when I'm winning.
Please.
Yeah, because I did really well this week. No, he didn't.
Don't listen to him, guys. Don't listen to him.
No, it's fantastic. Thanks again for coming on, Luke, and we'll see you before the end of the season, or we'll see you in the pre-season as well for the post-mortem that we're all going to enjoy doing about our seasons. But that just about wraps it up. It's good night from me.
Night, everyone.
Good night.